Well, well, well.
What's up, everybody? Good evening. Welcome to LVCopsTV.
Welcome to
Late
the
night
show.
live. Late night live.
Yeah.
Look, I broke my mug, G.
Man down. Man
And
down.
officer down.
Well, folks, I got some news. This is Bryan's first edited video. Let's go. Golf clap. Yeah. Out of the 170 videos we did, he's gotten his cherry pop.
First one. It's not so bad. It was actually kind of fun. It was actually kind of fun trying to figure stuff out and what to add and stuff. But it was a fun time.
Yeah. So we dropped Gallagher earlier today, right?
Yeah, we wanted to show everybody how he testified last year, what he said last year, because a lot of our new subs, a lot of new people didn't even know we did the case last year. So we're just trying to put it out there for everybody to see that what he said last year, what the testimony was last year, and what it is. Well, yesterday.
Things have changed, apparently.
Yep. So we're gonna review it, and I've seen it. It's good. This guy's retired now, man. He don't care about nothing.
Yeah, he's retired Lieutenant Blowhard Gallagher.
Yeah, 30,000 probably a month retired.
Yeah. You ready?
30,000. Let's do it. All right, everybody.
Here we go.
Folks, nobody likes wasting your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Paul Gallagher.
We're doing the prosecution and the defense?
Follow me, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be about 90 minutes.
I do.
Gotcha.
Mr. Leaf Blower, Mr. Solo Cups.
All right, Mr. Bryan,
Yep.
whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Sir, could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Paul Gallagher.
For the court reporter, would you mind spelling your last name?
Gallagher.
Mr. Gallagher, do you presently work?
As a police officer, I'm retired.
Retired.
When did you retire?
August 31st, 2024.
When you retired, what department were you working for?
Canton Police Department.
How many years had you worked for the Canton Police Department upon your retirement?
I was credited with 32 years, 8 months of service.
Did you have a particular rank when you retired?
Yes, I was a lieutenant.
I want to go back to the beginning of your law enforcement career and share your background with the jury. When did you begin your career in law enforcement?
I became a permanent intermittent police officer in Canton in 1992. What a permanent intermittent police officer is, it's basically a part-time police officer. You're required to attend a 16-week part-time academy. Your duties include regular patrol duties that a regular police officer would do, but you're only utilized during special events, short staffing, and you're allowed to work paid traffic details.
Hold on. Let me pause that for a second. So he was a part-time lieutenant? Is that what I'm getting?
I don't understand this part-time cop stuff, man. I don't get it at all. You're either full-time or you're not a cop. I'm sorry. There is no part-time.
That falls past my responsibilities. I'm only part-time, so it's not going to work for me.
He did 32 years, man. 32 years. Good for him. 32 years standing in uniform and not doing a damn thing. Good for you.
No, it's actually 18 because it's part-time. Let's roll.
Did that status change at some point?
It did in 1994.
1994, were you a patrolman?
Yes, and that required me to attend a full-time 18-week police academy.
In addition to the police academy, did you continue your training over the years?
Yes, I did.
Can you share with the jury some of the training that you would attend over the years?
Oh, sure. So I did constitutional law. I did interview and interrogation.
We did that.
Terrorism, international terrorism, domestic terrorism,
We did that.
domestic violence,
We did that. Well, everybody does that.
buccal swabbing,
Nothing to do with this case.
and DEA basic narcotics course. And
Basic dope class.
last duties were I did background checks, so I attended background training, and I did internal affairs.
Before I talk a little bit more about your experience over
Pause
the
that,
years and your
Gonzo.
progress through.
So basically, he did a whole lot of nothing. Did you hear those classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we take in the
those are
academy.
yeah. So you 32 years that he's literally done nothing. He named what 5 classes that we took, and those you get in the academy. And then
Yeah.
the buccal swabbing, who gives a shit? And then what was the last one he said? Oh, he's a desk jockey.
DEA's. Yeah.
He's a desk jockey. Okay, so basically, this guy's done nothing. Unbelievable.
It sounds like they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
$322,000 a year, and you
That's
do
scary.
nothing. Okay,
That's scary.
let's hit it. Yeah,
Let's roll.
let's
Canton
roll.
Police Department. I'd like you to share with us generally and briefly the structure of the Canton Police Department. The Canton Police Department, how big is it? How many officers are typically employed by Canton at the same time?
We would like to have 45, but unfortunately, we're short-staffed at this time.
At the Canton Police Department, is it?
Because they can't afford to pay anybody.
There is.
And what are they?
They are patrol, sergeant, detective sergeant, lieutenant, deputy chief, and chief.
Given the size of Canton, is it a small department or a typically large department for that size?
I would say it's a medium-sized department.
It's teeny.
Is Canton,
Tiny.
do you receive traffic from other areas nearby?
We do.
Is Boston part of the crossroad through Canton at times?
It is Route 138 runs from Boston, and it goes all the way down to the South Shore through Brockton, Taunton, et cetera.
Other cities or towns nearby that bring traffic through Canton as far as law enforcement is concerned?
They do, and other states, 95 runs through Canton as well and brings up traffic from Rhode Island.
For a relatively small town, is Canton a busy police department, given all the crossroads and intersections?
It can be very busy at times.
You mentioned in Canton that there are different ranks. You started as a patrol officer.
Yes.
Did that change at some point?
It did.
When?
July of 2001, I became a detective.
Did you have any particular or special training?
Hey, let me pause it real quick.
Yeah.
45 cops.
He said medium size?
How could that be, bro?
Dude, we have how many people at an area command?
120 minimum.
Minimum, but usually with trainees, blah, 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 probably about 140, 150, right?
Yep.
45. So that's a third of one of our substations. And we have 9 or 10. We have 10 now?
10 now. Yeah.
10 now. And that doesn't even include any of the detectives at all. So I don't know how is he saying that's medium?
Well, listen, do they have like projects there? You know, like we have the jets here, right? And he's saying that they're pretty busy with the cross street traffic.
Dude, no. They can't be that because I pulled the stats and remember in the one video we did, the 911 calls in a year, Canton gets about 9,000 911 calls a year. Vegas
a
gets
day.
anywhere from 8 to 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
They're not busy. They're not busy. And they and they're overpaid. And that's why they can't hire new cops.
Yeah.
All right.
And get
Oh, go ahead.
equipment.
Yeah. And equipment. Yeah.
Let's roll.
To become a detective?
I started attending how to dust for fingerprints. My focus was narcotics. I had several narcotics classes.
Did you engage in those type of investigations on behalf of Canton?
I did.
Did you work with other agencies?
I did in 2005. I started working with the Drug Enforcement Administration in 2006. I was assigned as a task force officer for the DEA, initially out of Worcester Tactical Diversion Squad, which their mission goal was to eradicate OxyContin and oxycodone distribution at that time. It was during our oxycodone phase.
Yeah. Pill
In
mills.
2008, I was moved to Boston Division, And there we focused on all narcotics, not just oxycodone, heroin, cocaine, etc.
How many
He
years did
forgot to
you
say
spend
he
as
was
a detective
certified,
before you received your
leaf
next
blower.
promotion?
Well, and then he's probably certified in Nick test.
Approximately 15 years.
What happened next in your career as far as progress?
I took the sergeant's exam, and I became a
Took a
sergeant.
crossing guard.
In order to become a sergeant, do you have to pass an exam?
An exam and an assessment, yes.
Is that enough to become a sergeant, or is there another process you have to go through?
That's where they rank you after the exam and the assessment.
What year did you say you
G.
became a sergeant?
Pause it for a
Became
second.
a sergeant in 2017.
Hey, you know their assessment? Basically, you have to do a scenario in America, or right on. You have to do a scenario, right? And they grade you. What do you think their scenario should be for the next sergeant's test?
How to collect evidence.
America?
How to interview
America?
suspects.
What do you think? I'm thinking they should have maybe, a homicide and a scene, and they got to see how they do. That's what I would do. All right.
Well, one thing that's got to change is if you have a crime in your district, right,
Mhm,
and it happens to be a homicide,
mhm.
you would do the preliminary investigation.
Yep.
And then pass it off to the responsible party.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Was that your first supervisory position?
Not actually. I also worked as an officer in charge, which you're not technically a sergeant, but when there's no sergeant to fill the shift, they'll use experienced officers to work as a sergeant, and you receive sergeant's pay.
How
call it
long
acting
did you
sergeant.
work as a sergeant for at the Canton Police Department?
We don't get to pay
I
though.
worked as a sergeant for 1 year till 2018, and I was promoted to detective sergeant.
As a sergeant, did your duties change or expand from that of detective?
I was still assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration at that time.
And you just shared a year later you were promoted to lieutenant. Did you have to take and pass an exam for that?
That was detective sergeant, and I did not have to pass a test for that.
Did your duties and responsibilities expand when you became lieutenant?
Yes, I was brought out of the DEA to work in Canton specifically.
Were there other lieutenants on the Canton Police Department when you worked as a lieutenant?
I became a lieutenant in 2021. At the time, there was 3
State
other
sergeant.
lieutenants.
Were there any other officers above lieutenant at that point?
There was a deputy chief and a chief.
In 2022, January, were you a lieutenant?
I was.
Your duties and responsibilities, do they include actually going to scenes, or was it purely supervisory?
It was supervisory, but we were expected to respond to scenes.
What do you mean by that?
Our chief expected a supervisor on scene at all times, at all scenes.
Even if there was a ranking supervisor like a sergeant, were you still as a lieutenant expected to go to scenes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you do that often?
You're still a cop.
Yes.
I want you
Okay, but how important it is to have a supervisor at a crime scene.
Very important. Yeah. Especially something like that. Especially something like that, because he's got to make sure everything gets run by the numbers. He's got to make sure everything flows perfectly. He's got to make sure everyone's doing their job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did none of that.
Especially when you have an officer down.
Yeah. Right.
That's even more crucial.
I know. Yeah. It's so frustrating that these people make that much money, and honestly, they just seem clueless. It's almost like they were never even cops, man. Yeah. But you notice how he loves saying, well, everybody that does with the DEA, I know they love saying, oh, when I was with the DEA and I was with the DEA. I'm not impressed, man. I get impressed by your actions. I'm not impressed by your titles or what you say. Show me. You know what I mean? Show me.
Bryon
Anybody can
Higgins
have
was
a
the same
title.
way.
Yeah, nobody cares. I don't care about titles. I'm not impressed by titles. Do your job, man.
Yeah, I agree.
to take us to January 29th, 2022. Were you working the overnight shift from January 28th, 2022 into January 29th, 2022?
I was the outgoing lieutenant. I did not work into the 29th. I was the last lieutenant to work on the 28th.
In the early morning hours, around 6 a.m., were you on shift or off shift?
I was off shift.
Were you planning on working that morning?
I was planning on working later that day, yes.
That's
Do
funny.
you remember what the weather was like that early morning?
Yes, there
Yeah.
was a nor'easter, which
not
was snow,
impressed.
wind.
Did anything interrupt your plan of working later that day?
Yes.
Tell us what happened.
Shortly after 6 a.m., I received a call from Sergeant Sean Good of the Canton Police Department.
After you received a call from Sergeant Sean Good, were you informed about a situation?
I was.
Were you told any basic details of where and what?
Yes.
Without sharing the actual conversation, where was this situation taking place?
I misunderstood the situation. I thought it was on Meadows Ave in Canton. I later found out through dispatch that it was actually Fairview Road.
When you heard that there was a situation in Canton,
Not off to a good start.
Did you decide to change your plans about when you would come in?
Yes, I responded.
Why did you respond?
That's the expectation our chief had for us.
When you go into work, do you use a police cruiser or do you use your personal vehicle?
On this particular day, I used a personal vehicle because of the weather.
Was that different than typical?
Yes.
And why would you use a personal vehicle instead of a police cruiser?
It was larger. It was four-wheel drive. It was the only way I probably would have got there to the scene.
After you received the call about a situation, tell us what you did.
I loaded up the car with a tent, and I drove to the Canton Police Department, and I got some winter gear from the office, and I got on the radio and advised Sergeant Sean Good, who was at the scene on Fairview, that all officers were held to further notice.
What does that mean?
Well, all
They
three of them.
weren't going to be going home at their end of the shift until they were
Hey guys,
released
you
by
two,
another
you're
supervisor.
staying late.
Why
Okay.
did you take it?
Yeah, I'm gonna pause that because you're not right. You're not wrong because there's
All
only
three
three
guys, or
cops
two
that
guys.
showed up.
They only have 3 guys on a shift. And they're already at the scene. I'm pretty sure they know they're not going home on time. You know what I mean?
Let me say this: when we've had fallen officers, and we've had a few,
Yeah.
everybody shows up. The chief, the sheriff, everybody shows up.
Do you think
Not just the
anyone
lieutenant.
is worried about going home on time, America?
No.
When you're looking at, your friend who's deceased on the yard or on the, lawn or at the hospital, no one's worried about getting out on time or overtime or any of that, man. That's,
Yeah.
that's a shame if they're worried about that.
Yep, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Tent with you.
Because of the snow, the way the call was described to me was a person possibly not breathing. And if it was an unattended death, I wanted to be able to cover the person.
Why?
Respect.
That tent was a tent from your home, a personal tent?
It was an 8x8 pop-up tent.
You went to the Canton Police Department first before you went to the scene.
I did.
Why did you go to the Canton Police Department first?
I had some winter gear there, including a reflective jacket that I thought would be helpful, given it was dark out. Visibility was very bad.
When you got to the Canton Police Department, did you learn anything from any of your colleagues while at the police department?
The only one colleague at the police department at that time was Officer Kelly Dever.
After
Did you tell him he was staying late?
Gear at the Canton
Yep.
Police Department, did you head towards Fairview?
I did.
Other than the general description that you had heard, did you know anything about what was going on there?
Just that a gentleman was found unconscious in the snow, possibly not breathing.
You mentioned the
gentleman.
term unintended
gentleman,
death.
yeah.
What does that mean?
An unattended death is a death where someone dies alone, and you don't know the reason. It doesn't mean there's foul play. In fact, 99% of the time, it's natural causes.
Except this time.
Is there a process for the Canton Police Department when they learn of any death, unintended or not? Is there a process you need to follow?
Yes, there is.
And what is that process?
That's to call the Norfolk County DA's office, their CPAC unit, Crime Prevention and Control. They have jurisdictions over deaths and unattended deaths.
You mentioned a CPAC unit. What type of officers or law enforcement is the CPAC unit?
It's manned by the Massachusetts State Police.
That's
Are you
funny.
required by statute to contact CPAC or the Massachusetts State Police, even if it's an unintended death?
Yes,
Did you follow that process?
Sergeant Lank followed that process.
Is that one of the officers who worked under you?
Yes, that is correct.
Did you know if Sergeant Lank was at the scene when you were leaving Canton, or did you learn at some point when you got there whether Sergeant Lank was at Fairview?
When I got there, I saw the black Toyota Tundra, which is operated by our detectives there, and then I saw
Pause it
him.
real quick.
When Canton Police Department,
Hold on a second. So, did y'all hear what he said? He took his personal vehicle to a homicide instead of the police vehicle because the police vehicle wouldn't make it. Do they not have four-wheel drive trucks and cars in Canton? You know it snows. Why would you not have the cops have the proper vehicles to do the job?
Well, Brian, the other
That-
cop cars got there,
Yeah.
right?
But I'm just saying, if you live in a snowy area, when you purchase cop cars, police vehicles from Ford or whoever you do, say, oh, we need four-wheel drive, sir. We get a lot of snow, we get a lot of rain, blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all.
No,
All
I
right.
get it. It sounds like these guys can do anything they want.
Yeah, we would get in trouble if we brought our POV, our personally owned vehicle, to a scene. We would get in trouble.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to bring your POV anywhere, period. So, all right.
Bad
first
juju.
contacted
Yeah.
the Massachusetts State Police or the CPAC unit
I got multiple
about
screens.
the information, do you have an understanding whether or not the Massachusetts State Police were going to respond or not?
They were not responding.
What?
So when you got to Fairview Road,
Hold on a second.
with it,
He just said CPAC responds to all deaths. And then he just said, oh, they will not be responding.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bizarre how
Okay. Yeah.
jurisdictions are broken up there.
Yeah.
Right? And we're spoiled because we're the biggest agency in Las Vegas, in Nevada.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're a one-stop shop.
Yeah, we are.
Right? So we're pretty spoiled. So for me to hear Blowhard Gallagher here break down this policies and procedures, it blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you follow the policy and procedures? Yes. No. You didn't. CPAC takes over. Is CPAC coming? No. All right, so you're 0 for 2, man. And you went to the wrong street. You're 0 for 3. You're
We
starting
better
off.
start picking up evidence.
Woo.
any other law enforcement officers other than Canton police officers?
No, there was not.
When you appeared at Fairview Road or arrived, were you the superior officer on the scene?
I was the highest ranking officer.
As you're pulling up to Fairview that morning, what's the first thing you see when you get there?
As I pull up, I see the last of the fire apparatus pulling away. I get out of the vehicle. The first one I encountered was Sergeant Sean Good, who was the shift supervisor.
Did you see any other of your officers there?
I did. I saw Lieutenant Lank further down, and further down I saw two other cruisers, which ended up being Officer Mulaney and Officer Sarif.
Did any of the cruisers or vehicles have lights on?
They did.
Did you hear any sirens?
No, there wouldn't be any sirens.
Why wouldn't there be?
Sirens are used to move traffic. There was no traffic. It was a blizzard. There were no cars on the road. You might see an occasional plow.
Did you ever learn the general area where the person was found?
Yes,
At that time, did you know who the person was?
I did. I knew him by name, yes.
Did someone inform you of who the person was?
Sergeant Sean Good did, yes.
Okay.
He didn't notice his other cop on the ground.
John O'Keefe.
Yep. Yep.
Had
Just
you
saying.
known John O'Keefe?
I knew of John O'Keefe. I had never met John O'Keefe.
Still a cop at Canton.
Brian, they must be allowed to drive code 2. Right?
Yeah. Code 2.
Just
Yeah.
lights.
You want to explain what code 2 is to our
Well, code 2
people?
is just running with lights, no siren,
correct.
right? But it doesn't make any sense that he's saying that it's only to use move traffic.
Whatever.
You
man.
got an emergency, you're going code 3.
Yep.
Lights and sirens, right? As
Not
fast
Canton, I
as you
guess.
can go,
Well, you know,
conditions pending.
conditions.
right?
But he barely got there. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was like he was coming up Everest. So
Well, he spent so much time getting the tent and the reflective
Gear.
gear
He's like a chilled old dude, man. He's like, yeah, I'd stop for an oxygen tank too, just in case we might need it. And then I ran into Kmart, picked up some fire equipment in case we might need to build a fire. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Makes no sense.
yeah.
When you first arrived at Fairview, was Mr. O'Keefe still on the ground?
He was not.
Was he at the scene?
He was not.
So when you got to the scene at Fairview, Mr. O'Keefe was already gone?
Yes, he had been transported to the hospital.
Why even show up?
Yeah. Why didn't you
So
go?
did you ever firsthand see exactly where Mr. O'Keefe was lying when he was found?
I did not.
Did anybody point out to you the general area?
Yes,
Did you have a chance at that point to, well, obviously you didn't have a chance to examine or look at Mr. O'Keefe. Did you have a chance to look in the general area where you were told he was found?
I did.
Tell us a little bit more about the weather now that you're standing outside Fairview Road. What's the visibility like? What's the temperature like? What are the conditions like?
So it was terrible. It was blizzard-like. The wind would blow in your face. It would change directions.
Oh, really?
The snow was an icy snow.
How did you survive,
and the
sir?
wind, you had to actually talk loud to be heard. Somebody
poor
right
guy.
next to you.
Oh,
And
must have been rough.
it was your typical New England blizzard, basically.
At this point, did you have any position as you assessed the area, whether this was a criminal investigation?
When we had no crime at that time.
When you were there, were you looking for anything?
Pause that.
Yes, I was examining the scene.
Okay.
You don't have a crime. You have a guy found on the yard, a lawn, half beat to death, with barely a pulse. He's barely alive, and he's in his 30s. And that's not a crime.
That's not a crime.
Is that usual in Canton?
It's an unintended death.
You have a
They
guy
already-
who's beat to death, and you don't have a crime?
They already solved the crime.
You know, I might lose it today, Gonzo. I'm not having a good day, people. I broke my cup. I'm not having a good day. I'm gonna lose my shit today on Gallagher. All right, roll it. Let's get this idiot going.
Slowpoke Rodriguez right there. I'm telling you.
Jeez.
Let me get this right.
Sherry D, super sticker. Thank you.
At that point, did you have any reason to start a criminal investigation?
Not at that time, no.
When you learned that Mr. O'Keefe was found outside, did you go look at the particular area?
Yes.
Can you describe the area that was shown to you where Mr. O'Keefe was
Thank you.
found?
Sure. It was on the left side of the property of 34 Fairview. You could see where first responders and witnesses and police officers had walked up to the area. It was by a flagpole on the property line of number 32 Fairview.
What was the lighting condition at that point in that area?
It was dark. It was sun was coming up, but due to the weather and the cloud cover and the snow, its visibility still was not great.
Were the law enforcement vehicles providing any light for the area?
No.
How about the house? Was there any bright lights coming out of the house
Pause that for a
illuminating
sec, G.
area?
I didn't see it.
Bob Harding wrote, no crime, but a suspect. Yeah, we have no crime. We have a suspect.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Bob. I like it.
He's describing the elements, right? I'm from Idaho, and I've been through some hellish winters, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You still go out there, you can see around you. I mean, whiteout conditions, you can still see 10, 15, 20 feet in front of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's acting like he's on top of Everest. You know what I mean? and come on, man. G and I worked out here in the heat and in the rain. I mean, we've all been in wind. We get dust storms like crazy out here.
Well, that's just it.
It's called
When you're out
adapting and
there-
overcoming, man. You adapt,
When
you
you're out
overcome, and
there-
you handle your business.
Yeah, when you're out in the elements here in Vegas, you're going to be hot. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be making butt butter, and you just do it.
Yeah, you
You
just get
don't
through
worry
it.
about it.
Yeah.
Actually, you
just
don't
suck it
feel
up.
it.
Yeah, and you have a dead officer or an officer clinging to his life. He deserves the ultimate respect and the best friggin' detailed investigation that Canton's ever seen.
Yep.
And you all did the exact opposite.
Yep.
Any lights, window lights on, there may have been an exterior, the door light at one or two houses.
In addition to the law enforcement officers that were there, did you see any civilians when you got there?
No, there were no civilians there.
While you were outside looking at the area, did any civilians ever come out?
No, not at all.
Any civilians ever come out of 34 Fairview?
No,
How
That's
about
odd.
next door, 32 Fairview? Did you ever see
whole
any
street.
civilians come out of that address?
nobody ever came out
Nobody
of the
came out.
house.
Across the street, is there homes across the street from 34 Fairview?
There is.
Did you see anybody come out of either one of those houses?
Did not see anybody come out of those houses.
When you were outside and you were shown the
Bit
area
odd.
where you were told Mr. O'Keefe was found, did you try to do anything regarding that area to identify the area itself?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Yes. The
you
area
look
where
for
you
stuff,
were told Mr. O'Keefe
Exactly.
was found.
Come on,
Did
man.
you try to do anything around that area to identify the area?
Well, it was marked out with crime scene tape at that time, and what I saw was
okay.
pink.
Brian,
Yeah.
what's Brennan saying? Where was the body?
Yeah.
And he can't identify where the body was at,
No.
right? They
And
just
then he's
got
saying-
crime scene tape around it.
Yeah. Okay. Did you look at the scene where the body was, sir, for clues? That's what he's asking. He can't even get that. This might be his first crime scene. This might be his first crime scene he's ever been on. 32 years, 8 months. This is his first crime scene.
It probably is
Oh my God. And he's a lieutenant. Oh my gosh.
part-time.
Blood, and it was in a circular pattern.
Was the crime scene tape holding up at all?
No, it was not. It was blowing wildly in the wind, and at one point, it was actually blowing in. It was triangular, and it was actually blowing into the crime scene.
Was the tape
That's
helping
good
at all?
detail. That's good detail. He spent more time watching the tape than he did the crime scene.
The tape's flying in the air, bro. It ain't going to touch nothing. I really don't like
Was there any use putting a tent up at that point?
No, there wasn't, not due to the high winds.
Did you learn whether any of the officers had, at any point before you got there, gone into Fairview Road?
Yes,
Who did you learn went into Fairview Road?
both Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lake went into Fairview Road.
Did you know how long they were inside for?
Oh, no, did you know that?
I did not.
At that point, did you go and speak to anybody in any of the nearby homes?
I did not.
When you were at this scene and you saw what was happening in the weather, did you make a decision to do anything?
Yes.
What did you decide you were going to do?
Since the state police were not responding, I decided to process the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found and try to find out why he had the medical episode he was having.
Okay.
Pause that.
If you understood
Yes, sir.
this to be a
Yes,
medical
sir.
episode,
The fuck medical episode? He got beat up. Oh, he got beat. Medical.
There was no
episode.
crime, Brian. There was no crime.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, G, but when blood drips in a circular pattern, there is no crime. There's no crime with this. If it's square, that's murder.
Maybe
If it's
Maybe it's a
circle, it's circular.
triangle.
If it's
If
round,
it's a triangle,
there's no crime. You got to listen to the blood, bro. Go ahead.
he's a blood whisperer.
The blood whisperer.
and at that point, you didn't have any information it was a crime scene. Why were you taking the time and effort to process the scene under these
Of course, it's a
conditions?
crime scene.
Because that's what we do. Even the hospital, there could be a reason that there's obviously a reason he's there.
Good night,
I think
Steve.
we had a duty and obligation to check around where he was found and see if there was any explanation to what caused his medical condition.
You mean
Did you
do your job?
focus on a particular area when you decided to look around?
I did.
What area were you going to look at?
Where it was pointed out he was found and where the blood pattern was.
Were you thinking about looking in any other areas around that?
Not at that time.
Why not?
We didn't have any reason to. We only had the area where he was found.
And at that point, did you have any idea what caused his injuries?
We had none.
At this point, when you were pointed or you're looking at the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found, was the area getting covered up at all?
Yes, it was.
With what?
Snow.
How quickly?
Very quickly. I believe it was forecasted to come down to 1 to 2 inches an hour, if I recall.
Did you have any idea how hard the ground was at that point?
It was frozen.
No, did you have any idea?
It was frozen.
So,
I'll allow it.
of course you will.
Okay.
Of course you'll allow it. She lets
That's already
everything
pissing me
Brendan
off.
says, she allows it all. Pisses me off.
You know, as a kid, we would play football in a school playground.
Yeah, we
Right.
did too.
No helmets, no pads.
Oh, snow football was the best.
None of us had a concussion. None of us had any gashes in the back of our head.
No. Yeah, I played snow football probably 5,000 times, and I never got injured. And we played full tackle football too in the snow.
Yeah,
The only time we played full tackle.
crazy stuff.
How deep was the snow covering that frozen ground?
Approximately 4 inches at that time.
When you wanted to look around the area, did you consider using a rake or a shovel?
I did.
And did you?
I did not.
Why didn't you use a shovel at that point?
Yeah, snow football.
I was afraid I would miss something or possibly break something.
You missed something?
What could you break with a shovel?
I'd be shocked.
Anything, glass or anything of that nature.
Why would you think glass?
Why
What was
exactly?
your,
Why would you think you're going to break glass digging into snow by a
what
dead
was your
body
decision
or a
about how
downed
you would
officer?
search that area? What did you want to see?
That's a little weird.
I wanted to see anything that was possible, whether it was
Look for
any
clues?
type of weapon or any type of medical bottle or any reason that he could have come to where he was.
Did you think of a way that you could look below the top of the snow without unresting the scene?
Yes, I did.
And what did you conclude?
Because of the blood, the pink spots I thought might be blood, I thought a leaf blower would be the best method because I have seen it used and to remove light layers of snow, and it can be controlled.
And after having seen that before and making that decision, what was the benefit of a leaf blower over a shovel?
I wasn't going to miss anything with a leaf blower, much better control.
And control, tell us what your intention, what was your hope with the leaf blower?
To clear the area, controlled, slowly, so any potential evidence of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe wouldn't be lost.
Did you have a leaf blower with you?
Did not.
So what did you do?
Sergeant Good volunteered to go get the leaf blower.
When
Get
you
a leaf
came on
blower.
that one.
Did you remain at the scene?
I did.
And during this time, are you still have no information that it's a crime scene?
We had no information on a crime at that time.
You see
Did
how happy he
Sergeant Good
paused
come
that?
back with the leaf blower?
He did.
You see how happy he is that he stayed at the scene?
Yeah. Did
This
his job.
guy, this guy is at the scene for an hour. One of his cops, deceased, he's at the scene for an hour, and he's like almost fucking bragging about it.
Well, what gets me is 45 cops, and he doesn't know him well.
Yeah.
Dude,
I mean-
our sergeants, lieutenants knew everybody at our station.
You're the leader. You should know everybody at your substation. It
Yeah.
behooves you to know everybody. But
Yeah.
you want to brag. You want to be proud that you were at the scene for an hour on a dead body call with an officer, and you were like, "Oh, I went to the scene." What the fuck you want? You want a cookie? Because
Yeah.
you fucking went to the scene and you stayed there? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Did you try to get any other items to help you?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When Sergeant Good came back with the leaf
Paper
blower,
bags.
did you use it?
Stole the cups.
I did.
Was it successful?
Very.
Tell us what you did.
I started with low speed and began whisking away the snow. And then I saw how it was uncovering those pink spots were becoming brighter red. So I verified it was frozen or coagulated blood at that time.
Yeah. And then you fucked that up.
And so out of the abundance of caution, I decided that that was something we may want to collect.
Why did you want to
May
collect them?
want to collect.
Just out of abundance of caution, DNA, I expected it to be John's DNA. And I wasn't going to get a second chance at it. It was either collected
I'm wondering
or
if this
never
dude's really
have
even
it.
a cop.
Were you making quick decisions under these circumstances?
Yes,
Did you ask somebody to get a container to put the coagulated blood in?
I ended up getting the containers.
Where did you get them from?
I got them from Lieutenant Gallagher, who lived in the neighborhood.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher ever come over to the scene?
He did not.
Did he work for the Canton Police Department?
He did.
Why didn't he come over to the scene with you?
Because he originally thought the scene was at 32.
Assisting.
Did you ask him to come over to the scene to help you?
No,
Did you expect him to come over to help you?
no,
Did you prefer he not?
correct.
So when you get the
Preferred
containers, were they plastic cups?
Yes, they were red Solo cups.
And what was the purpose of using the red Solo cups?
They were plastic. They weren't going to leak.
Mess up the blood.
They weren't going to get soggy. They were large. I needed a small sample. My thought was because it was frozen or coagulated, that we could collect it, transport it, and transfer it to the crime lab, who could extract the DNA however they saw best fit.
Because sometimes the crime lab tests evidence and sometimes not.
Of course, yes.
Is that your decision?
No,
You were telling us about the leaf blower. Does it serve to excavate the?
Hold on a second. All blood is evidence. I don't understand what he just said. Sometimes they
either.
test it, sometimes they don't. Pass it.
That's why I'm saying I don't know if this dude's a real cop, man. Like seriously,
Listen, when you have
he's clueless.
people, when you have people around you that can give you advice or help you,
Yeah,
it's welcomed, right? Because they
he's done
might
that his
have
whole career.
they might have dealt a homicide in their career, not this guy.
Yeah.
But you can actually get help by other people giving you opinions or advice, right?
area?
it did.
Did you begin that process?
I did.
And when you did that, did you try to memorialize it?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
I had Sergeant Good videotape it.
Why did you have Sergeant Good memorialize your efforts to excavate the area?
I thought someone may wonder why I decided to use a leaf blower, so I wanted to demonstrate its effectiveness.
Catch my idiocracy on tape.
Yeah, no
I'm
kidding.
going to move to introduce two videos that council has.
How about you just wait till the proper people get there
Yeah.
and let them collect it properly?
If it's frozen, it's gonna be frozen,
So there's no objection to these videos, right?
right?
You know, G.
Yeah. If it's frozen, it's not gonna go nowhere.
It ain't rocket science.
With the court's permission, can I show the jury the videos?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, can we show number one, please?
Very proud of his leaf blowing skills.
Hey, look at this question, B. Okay.
Can you tell us what you would have done? Would have secured the scene until pause.
Go ahead, B.
We would have secured the scene, and you don't if like he just said, he didn't have the proper equipment, right, to retrieve the evidence, right? So what you do is, as a lieutenant, right, and he's third in charge of the entire police department, so he knows a lot of people. Call up CPAC. Hey, this guy's just went toes up, right? He just died at the hospital. Now we have a homicide. We need you guys here to collect this stuff, because we do not have, first of all, we don't have the proper training, which they don't. They'll say they do, but they don't. And we don't have the proper containers. So we will guard this scene with our lives. I don't care if you have to stand over it like this in the wind and the snow and guard that blood. That's your boy. That's a fellow cop. If G's blood was down there, I would stand on that shit all day, all night until somebody got there to collect it. I wouldn't let anything happen to it. So that's what we would have done.
Well, that would have been done properly, right? He said it himself. It's either frozen or coagulated.
Right,
It's not going to go anywhere because it's not going to heat up,
right,
right? You preserve the scene.
right.
Clear? Clear.
Would it suck standing out there and freezing?
Yep.
But guess what? You have a friend that's now deceased. He deserves that.
Yep.
And that's the only thing that would keep me going is like, well, my boy's gone. I'll stand here all fucking night. I don't care. That's where he should stop. Stop. Everybody back out. Let's get people in here. See, they said liters of blood. There's only, pause that for a second. There's only 3.5 liters of blood in the human body. I heard somebody on the stand, somebody saying that they saw liters of blood. That's not liters of blood. That's just a little bit of blood.
Well, the thing is when you're using the blower right there, you're introducing more debris to the blood, to the crime scene. And they're walking all over the crime scene.
I know, dude. I know. That's why that lieutenant right now, America, he should be saying, everybody stop, back up. Let's get people in here. Let's get this evidence. I see it. We all see it. It's right there. Could have been that easy.
Yep, I agree.
Could you, Ms. Gilman, stop at the end of the video so it's a still frame?
Did you see our state flower? Gee, little cone,
That's good right there.
little orange
Right.
cone.
Sir, who's the person holding the leaf blower?
That is
Yep.
me.
Did the leaf blower work as you had hoped?
It was great.
You see other footprints around that area.
Correct.
Do you know how those footprints got there?
Some of them were from first responders. Some of them were for witnesses. The ones up top by the flagpole were for when the officers put out the crime scene tape.
Did officers try to wrap the crime scene tape around the flagpole?
They did wrap it around the flagpole, yes.
I see. And from that vantage point, could you see the side and front yard?
Yes.
Did the side yard have any footprints or evidence that anything was dragged through the side yard?
No, not at all.
How about the front yard? Did the front yard have any evidence that anybody had walked across
He's
it?
trying to
or
get all
dragged
those
anything
points.
across it?
Yep.
It had one set of prints from Sergeant Lang.
Other than Sergeant Lang's footprints across the front yard, was there any other impediment?
No, not that I saw.
Well, it was snowing 4 inches an hour,
I'm gonna
right?
ask
Or an inch
if
an
we could
hour.
see the second video, please,
Yep.
Ms. Gilman?
Duty run.
Could you stop there, please?
Duty run.
You see the end
YouTube?
of the leaf blower?
I do.
There's an object just below it at like 7 o'clock. Do you see that?
I do.
Did you discover something in that area?
We did.
Yeah.
What did you discover?
It's a cocktail glass.
It's
Was
almost like
it-
he knew it was going to be
Did
there.
it have any damage to it?
It did.
Describe that for us.
I didn't want
It
to break
was
the
broken
glass.
on the top.
Could you continue the video, please, Ms. Gilman? Stop, please. There's some red spots. Is that what you identified as coagulated blood?
That is.
Below some of those spots and to the left, there's an area that's not white. It's brownish. Do you know what that is?
That's, I believe, just bare ground.
Yeah.
If we could finish the video, please.
That's not 4 inches of snow, though. You could see the ground. You could see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not 4 inches. There's our state flower.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Could have the lights on, please?
Yeah, it looked like
Did you or any
a
officer
small
in
amount
the
of blood.
direction obtain and preserve that broken cocktail glass?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, this is when they're going to hold the glass.
Yeah.
But isn't that weird? That he would. Why would you even make that statement with the shovel thing? I didn't want to break any glass.
Yeah.
I do.
What is it?
If he didn't have
It's
a crime scene.
Yeah.
after we exposed the broken, I exposed the broken glass.
Is the broken glass depicted in that photograph?
Yeah, it is.
Is that similar or substantially the same way it appeared to you that morning?
It's exactly how it appeared, yes.
Do you know if that photograph was taken as a still image of the video or not?
I do not.
Okay. Second photograph, can you take a look at that,
That's a close-up of the cocktail glass.
of the same photo?
It is, yes.
I'd move these two photographs into evidence, please.
Okay, do you want to be 52 and 52A?
Please, Your Honor.
If it's 52, 52A,
Lieutenant, what was done with that cocktail glass?
It was bagged and
Bagged and tagged.
seized as evidence.
Was it brought anywhere that morning?
It was brought back to Canton Police Headquarters.
What happens when it gets back to Canton Police Headquarters?
It gets logged into evidence and it's assigned an evidence number. The officer types in a description of the item. In this case, it was a broken cocktail glass or broken glass. And once he hits the space bar, it automatically generates a property number for it. And I believe in this case, it was 22-18-PR, which means 22 is the year, 2022. 18 is how many pieces of evidence the department as a whole had collected that year so far. And PR, I believe, means property room.
Why is it assigned a particular number?
Did he say 18 pieces of evidence collected that year?
Why would you make your event numbers a number with evidence? Ours
Makes
is
no
a
sense
year,
to me.
month, and day, people. Year,
Right.
month, day, and then the last four is whatever number you called 911, whatever number, like in order. If you were the 1000th person to call, then it was 1000 event number. That's it, 1000. It was very simple.
Now, when you're packing evidence, right, it's package 1, item 1, description.
Yeah,
Package 1, item 2, description,
yeah.
right? And just keep on going down the line
Yep.
until you can't fill any more items in that package. Then it goes package 2, and whatever item you left
Well, we
off
don't,
would be 15.
Oh, sorry, you're glitching, G.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back.
All right.
All right.
So there's a system.
Everything is assigned a number by the computer.
You said it's brought to the evidence room. Is that a separate or a special place?
So we have two rooms. We have a temporary evidence room, and then there's a permanent evidence room. Only 2 people have access to the permanent evidence room.
Is there a reason why access to the evidence room is limited?
There is,
Why?
Yep.
for security.
Even in the police department, the evidence room is limited as far as people who have access?
Yeah,
That is correct.
100%.
In the evidence room, is there an officer assigned as an evidence officer?
Not full-time. There is an assigned admin sergeant who is assigned as the evidence officer.
Does anything happen specifically with the evidence? Is it packaged or stored in any particular way?
The glass was put into a locker, I believe, and temporary evidence. And then it's the
That's funny.
evidence sergeant's job to retrieve it. But in this case, we were going to transfer it to the state police.
Was it transferred to the state police at some point?
It was.
I'll allow it.
Were you part of the transition of that item to the state police?
I was.
And when was it transitioned and to who?
It was on February 1st, 2022, and it was to a criminalist from the Massachusetts State Crime Lab.
Do you know who the criminalist was?
I don't know the name, no.
Did the criminalist come to your department or did you bring the item to them?
They came to our department.
In addition to the glass, there was plastic cups with coagulated blood.
That's correct.
What did you do with those cups?
Those were placed in temporary evidence and placed in a refrigerated unit.
To carry them from Fairview to the police department, did you hold the actual cups or did you put them in something?
Nope, they were stacked in a bag.
I'm gonna allow it.
What type of bag?
It was a craft paper bag. In this particular case, we utilized the Stop and Shop bag.
Is that any different than a bag from the police department?
This made of the same paper, craft
It's not
paper,
sterile.
same size and dimension, other than Stop and Shop and evidence and probably price.
And the blood's sitting in
They're
water
basically the
for
same bag.
years.
Why did you use one of those rather than a bag that said evidence on it?
I don't know where that bag came from. I was in a personal car. Sergeant Lank was in a Tundra. If that bag is upside down, you wouldn't know it didn't say evidence on it. So I'm not sure where that bag came from.
And the plastic
Oh,
cups, do you know what
bullshit.
happened to those?
Yes, they were turned
But
over
yet
to
you
the
used it
criminals as
anyway.
well.
Where did you store them before?
Hey,
they were
here's a
turned
bag
over
from
to
the trash a
criminals?
homeless guy just gave me.
Temporary
Let's use this to
evidence
collect the
in a
evidence.
refrigerator.
I'm going along with.
Sprinkle the crack out of it first. But
Temporary evidence in a refrigerator.
Is the refrigerator part of the temporary evidence area?
It is, yes.
Did you bring that piece of evidence, the broken glass, with you today?
Yes.
With the court's permission, I'd like to approach the witness. Handing you a box, gloves, and some scissors.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause it, Steve, real quick. Brian. How do we set up our patrol cars?
I set mine up like a boss. I had mine with the Sirius radio. I had Velcro everywhere, right? Got the GPS when they came out, and all the gear we need to collect the evidence.
Yep. Remember, this guy took his POV, right? So if he had any gear in his cop car, it's sitting in the cop station, police station, not where it should be, right? We have there's stuff that is sensitive to heat, like the Nick tests, some other stuff that we have to
Big test.
pick out of the station when we leave. So,
Road flares.
yeah, exactly.
Road flares. When road flares go up in a trunk, woo!
Yeah, that's a fun sight.
Let me ask you about that box. It has red tape on it. Why?
It's a secure and transfer of custody.
I'm going along.
Fucking bad. She's allowing Brennan to run ragged, right? Try to derail the defense. Did you cut this or did you cut this? Oh, there you go. Look at that, spinny.
Lieutenant, before you open the
Hey,
box,
hey,
were you
You
one of
forget
the
who you're talking
officers
to, bro.
that
What's up?
discovered that broken
I don't like
glass?
that disrespect.
Yes.
Did you personally bring the glass from Fairview to Canton?
You like that spin?
No.
Do you know
Yeah,
who did?
Yes.
Who?
Detective Sergeant Lang.
Sergeant Lang?
Yes.
When you went back to the
glitching,
station,
though.
you said that the evidence was then
These aren't.
put into
That
an
is.
evidence locker. Did you place it in the evidence locker?
I don't recall.
And then inevitably, it was transitioned to somebody from the forensic unit?
That's correct.
Were you personally there when it was taken from the evidence locker and given to the person from the forensic unit?
Yes, that was me.
Oh,
Did you have a responsibility and role in that process, or were you a passive observer?
I had an active role. I was the chain of custody. I was turning it over to the criminalist to the state police lab.
you did one thing
After that
right.
glass was
Yep.
given to the criminalist, did you ever have possession of it again?
Never.
Did you ever package it or touch it again in any way?
No, never.
Did you ever process it in any way?
No,
Did
that's
you
not.
put it in that box and tape it up yourself?
No.
Okay, I'm going to now ask you to open the box, please.
Well, then who did? Who else touched it?
Yeah.
He's a lieutenant. Lieutenants, once you're above a lieutenant, you don't do anything yourself. You delegate everything out. You literally do nothing.
Yep.
A couple of meetings here and there, like it's boring. That's why he doesn't know anything. That's why he sucks. He's done nothing his whole career. He's literally just done nothing. And that, once you're a boss, you delegate. So it gets even easier.
Is there an item in that bag?
There is.
Would you please open the bag and show us what's in that bag?
How funny would it be if Jackson ran up and smacked that glass right out of his hand? Get that,
Hits Bev in the face.
yeah. Get that evidence out of here, man. You know that shit ain't real.
Mm-hmm. Holy Grail.
The broken
Okay, if you
glass.
could put it
Like
back
that's
in
the
the bag.
fucking nail in the coffin
bag
or
back in
something.
the box, please.
Who gives a shit about a glass? The glass didn't kill John. All that shows is
Lieutenant
that
Gallagher, does that
there was a
appear to be
glass.
the same item that you found in the area where John O'Keefe was at Fairview that morning?
Yes, it does.
I'd like to have the box and the item marked for identification, please.
Okay.
Yeah, already is. All right, Jackson should be coming up.
To the queue, Friday.
Okay. Don't know what
When
scissors.
you were looking
Mr.
around the area that was pointed out to you as where John O'Keefe was found, did you expand across the front lawn into the street during your search?
No, we didn't, with the exception of uncovering the 6-foot asphalt berm.
Did you say 6 foot or is it?
Excuse me, 6-inch.
What's a berm?
It's it's basically a curbing, but it's made of asphalt. It's curved. You probably have seen it. It's asphalt. It's curved. It separates the street from property
Also,
line.
also
Why
called
did
a
you
curb.
clear that piece?
Wanted to see, we're trying to find out why John was having a medical issue, and we didn't know if he could have tripped over a curbing or
berm?
what turned out to be an asphalt berm and possibly hit his head.
The curb.
After you made efforts to look in that area, did you return to the Canton Police Department?
I did.
About what time?
It was shortly after 8 a.m.
After you returned to the Canton Police Department, did you receive any information or have a reason to return back to Fairview?
Yes,
About what time?
a little after 9 o'clock.
Why did you go back to Fairview after 9 o'clock?
Sergeant Lank got a phone call that Jen McCabe had more information
And where did you understand Mrs. McCabe was?
at 34 Fairview.
Did you go back to 34 Fairview?
I did.
Did you go with anybody?
I went with Sergeant Lank
Did you travel together or separate?
together.
When you got back to 34 Fairview, outside, what did you do?
We parked in the driveway. We walked up, and next to the garage, there's a side door. I don't know if we rang the bell or knocked, but Bryon Albert, the homeowner, answered the door.
As you walked up to the door, did you have a chance to look around at the doors in the area in front of that side door?
Yes.
Did you see anything out of place?
No.
You've been a police officer at that point for a long time.
Yes.
Do you receive any training in observing areas or people?
Always.
What type of training? What are you told to look for when you're speaking to people?
I've been
us.
BOSAR trained, which is behavioral observation, suspicious activity training, and you look for clues when you're speaking to people. Whether they cross their legs, cross their arms, there's certain behavioral characteristics.
At this point, did you have any understanding that this would later be a crime scene?
I did, yes.
What happened?
Can
How
you-
did you come to that conclusion?
Oh,
Yeah, with all
not
of
at
your
that time.
Oh,
expertise.
not at that time?
No,
Okay.
not at that time.
Oh, oh.
When you went into the house, what part of the house did you go into?
I went into the room. It's adjacent to the kitchen, and I stood there with Bryon Albert.
Can you describe what kind of room that would be?
Yeah, it was just a typical family room type room. It was not large. It was between the garage and the kitchen.
You met with Bryon Albert?
Bryon Albert answered the door and let us into the house.
Did you understand what his relationship was to that house?
He was the homeowner.
Did Sergeant Lank walk in with you?
He did.
Did he stay in that living area?
No, he went to the kitchen area and sat down with Jen McCabe.
Could you see the kitchen area from where you were?
I could see a portion of the kitchen area.
Did you see anybody else in the kitchen area with Mrs. McCabe and Sergeant Lank?
There were people in the kitchen area. There was nobody with Sergeant Lank or Miss McCabe.
Could you hear their conversation?
No,
Were you trying to listen?
no.
Were you speaking to Mr.
I'm gonna pause it right
Did
now.
Mr. Albert cross his arms or cross his legs for a clue? Now, I was gonna say, gee, this guy don't have a clue on how to read anybody because I don't think he's
No.
ever looked at a suspect.
No. And the thing is, let me break this down a little bit. When you and I would go to a house to interview two people, you're 110% listen to what I'm saying. And the answer is at the other person. Even when you're talking to the other person.
Yeah, yeah, you get really
Right?
good at it. Yep.
And the reason for that is you use what they say against them.
Mm-hmm.
if they were doing a proper interview, but they weren't.
Yeah.
They went there, I would say, as a social atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. To me, it sounds like that. And Jen
Because remember,
calling you.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, Jen calling you and saying, get back here. I got more information for you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just odd. It's very odd. And
Well, this
why
is
would you
after-
jump when Jen calls? I
Well,
would
this
say,
is
come down to the
after-
station. Yeah, come down to the station. Talk to me here on camera, on tape, right? We don't go to people's house. I mean, we go to people's houses to interview them, but when they call you and say, I got info, come on down.
Well, the reason why she said that is because they had that 2-hour or 3-hour powwow and got all the stories straight.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's what Higgins says. You better call him back.
Yep. Yep.
Let's roll.
Albert,
I was.
did you take the time to make observations of him?
I'll allow it.
Did you take the time to make observations of him?
Yes.
And what did you
Speak
see?
to him?
Yes.
Did he speak to you?
He's going to say nothing.
Yes.
Was there anything about his mannerisms or affect that caused you any concern?
No, it was just a social conversation. There was nothing.
Exactly, see?
at all.
Was there
Exactly.
anything about it that caused you to hone in or be concerned?
No.
I'll allow that.
Hi, babe.
No.
Did you get a chance to look around that living area at the
Sure.
items?
I didn't look around. I
It's
just
a
with my
cat
eyes.
again at her friend's
Did
house.
you get to see that area?
I did.
Did you see anything broken or looked out of place?
No. Nothing.
Anything that caused you any type of
Can you come with me
concern?
to go walk
Nothing.
it? I'm gonna go.
When you looked towards
I'm
the
gonna go,
kitchen, did you see
I'm gonna
anything
go.
that looked different or suspicious in any way?
Nothing.
Was the interaction, did it cause you any alarm or
She
concern?
gave me checks
No.
to her address. I'm gonna walk it back.
After Sergeant Lank had an
I just wanted to
opportunity
say hi
to
to
speak to
you.
Mrs. McCabe and you spoke to Bryon Albert, what did you do next?
Look better?
We left.
Where did you go?
We can hear
We
you,
went back
G.
to the police department
Yes.
and were informed that the state police were going to respond to the hospital and that we didn't need to respond to the hospital.
Didn't you meet us?
When you heard that the state police.
Why would you
was
not
then
go
going
to the
get
hospital?
involved in the investigation?
Your guy is dead.
What does Canton do?
Your
when
own
the
cop
state
is
police
dead,
takes
and you're
over
not
an
going to go to the
investigation?
hospital to see him?
Well, it was based off of a conversation I had with my chief in the detective sergeant's office.
Was there a decision about Canton's involvement in the ongoing investigation?
Pause
There
that,
was.
G, for a
What
second.
was that decision?
That we should recuse ourselves from.
Sorry about that.
Gosh, this guy is killing me. He didn't
That's
even go to the
experience.
hospital.
I know.
Gonzo. Do you know what would happen in Vegas if you were a sergeant or lieutenant and one of your guys passed away and you weren't at the hospital?
They'd be hell to pay.
Oh, that would not ever happen here. No, man. No. When your troop is down, everybody goes to the hospital, man. Our hospitals get over flooded with cops.
Yeah.
Right, G?
Yep. No place to park, no place to stand, no place to sit.
Was anybody even upset that Officer O'Keefe got killed?
It doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't seem like anybody even cared.
No.
Nobody was
It's a sad
upset.
state.
Nobody cared about this guy except Karen.
Well, remember, Jen said that was a really good friend.
You know what I think about Jen.
I know. Here we go.
All right.
Any further investigative interviews.
And why was that?
Because our best detective, his name was Kevin Albert, and he was the brother of the homeowner. And I didn't want any
He's your
potential
best?
bias, whether unconscious or subjective, to be perceived.
You didn't have a
by the
crime.
O'Keefe's, by the O'Keefe family.
So when the
You didn't have a
state
crime,
police
sir.
got involved and you had the conversation with the chief, was that the end of your efforts towards this?
It was the end of our efforts until, I helped facilitate during the search warrant on February 1st.
And so at some point, was the defendant's Lexus brought to the Canton Police Department?
It was.
Was it put in a particular area at the Canton Police Department?
It was.
What area?
The Sally Port.
What's a Sally Port?
Sally Port is where, when we have an arrest, we bring our prisoners in. It's basically a
garage
extra
door.
large garage. It has 4 doors, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. We typically go in door 4 and pull towards door 3. Door 4 is lowered, and then prisoners are walked into the booking area, which is also secure. The exterior doors to the Sally Port can only be opened by the dispatch council.
When crime scene services came to look at the car, was that the same day, the 29th, or later time?
No, it was February 1st.
Did the Lexus remain in the Sallyport area from the 29th until February 1st?
Yes.
When representatives from the crime lab, from the Massachusetts State Police came on February 1st, who provided them access to the Lexus?
I was one of the people there that was there. I don't know if I provided them direct access, but I certainly would have. And I assisted them if they needed things. That's when the chain of custody, the exchange of custody for the blood samples and the glass occurred as well.
And
So
during
proud
their
of your chain of
processing
custody.
of the Lexus, were you there for
Probably
parts
the first
of it?
time he did that too.
I was in and out, yes, but I did
Thank
not
you, Dark
partake.
Willow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Will. Then somebody else made a comment about Kevin Albert being their best.
Yeah.
What the heck? We're in trouble. You're in trouble, Canton.
Yep.
Because I'm not impressed at all.
Let's see what Mr.
All right,
Jackson,
Jackson.
can do for us.
Yeah. Let's get him.
By the way, let me say this.
What?
Gallagher sounded like he was really scripted really good.
Yeah, and you can tell his demeanor. He's chilled. He knows he's not in trouble. He's a lieutenant because he's like, everything is beneath me. Everybody that did stuff is beneath him. That's why he's not gonna he can't get in trouble. Everybody was beneath him. He's in charge of them. So he's like, well, they did their thing. I don't know what they're doing. They're in charge. They're doing it.
Yeah.
So
I was there
he's
just to
retired.
look good.
Yeah, he's chilling on his fishing boat, man, making $25,000 a month, just chilling. He don't have a care in the world.
Damn, 25,000 a month.
Dude, can you imagine? 22 years and all the shit that we've gone through
Mm-hmm.
for less than $100,000 a year.
We barely make it.
I make a quarter of what he makes retired. Fuck.
Let's roll.
Unbelievable.
Mr. Jackson, is this video up there yours or is it the Commonwealth?
Not mine. Or is it?
Yeah, I think Jackson's only about 15 minutes. 20 minutes.
Okay.
Then we'll be done.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher, you have already established that you were at the scene on January 29th, early morning, January 29th, 2022. We've seen the video of the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
So you were integral to at least an initial search of the scene, which recovered the drinking glass that you've shown us, as well as some of the blood byproduct that you've talked about.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. You were the ranking person on the scene. You've already described that.
Yes, that is correct.
There were also several other officers from Canton PD who were there with you.
Yes, there was 4 other officers, yes.
Can you just name those other officers?
Yeah, Detective Sergeant Lank, Lank, Detective Sergeant Good, Goode, Officer Mullaney, Mullaney, and Officer Saraf, Saraf.
Okay. When you initially, let me back up and ask a different question. Given the fact that you were the ranking officer, the way that it works in a police department is everybody sort of reports up the chain of command, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So they would have all reported up to you in some particular.
That's correct.
And then, of course, you report to I think you're the deputy chief, and then the deputy chief reports on up to the chief, correct?
That is correct.
You were involved in not only the exposing of some of that blood byproduct, but also exposing the glass with the leaf blower, correct?
That is correct.
You were responsible for utilizing certain equipment. You chose a leaf blower at the time, correct?
I did, yes.
There was also, I'm guessing, there was also some use of your hands and or the gloved hands with some others to recover some of the items.
Yeah, I didn't use my hands.
How did you get the glass into a bag?
That was Detective Sergeant Lank.
Somebody had to pick it up, right?
See?
Correct.
That's
He
what
ain't
I mean.
touching shit.
The use of hands to manipulate some of the evidence, correct?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't understand that question.
That's okay.
I thought you were speaking about me.
Probably my fault, not yours.
Nope, that's okay.
There was also some plastic cups that we've talked about. We'll talk more about those in a second. Those were utilized as well, correct?
We were, yes.
And you were responsible for the use of those as well.
Yes, it was
So,
my decision, yes.
In terms of the search of the scene, the recovery of evidence, the recovery of biological material, the use of tools to recover those biological materials, all of that rested at least ultimately at the scene on your shoulders, correct?
Yes, it did.
Isn't it true that you weren't interviewed in this case with regard to anything having to do with this case until April 3rd, 2024, correct?
Yes, we can call it an interview. It's when I met with the prosecutor, yes.
And that was about 2.5 years, nearly 2.5 years after this incident, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Michael Proctor, you know that name.
I do.
Who's Michael Proctor?
He was one of the troopers assigned to investigate the case.
As a matter of fact, he was
Past
the
tense.
lead investigator for the case, correct?
I don't know if he was
He
lead
was.
or
What?
trooper
You
mechanic.
know.
I don't know.
As you
You
sit here,
know.
you don't know that Michael Proctor was the lead case agent for...
I
He knew.
know he was one of them, yes.
Okay.
He knew.
Do you know that he was the lead investigator assigned to the case?
I don't. I had nothing to do with the DA's office.
Right. I know you didn't have
I
anything...
don't know how they assign their cases, counsel. I don't know what you want me to say. I can't say what I don't know.
Mr.
You didn't
Gallagher,
see
I'm not
Proctor
asking you
walk
to.
around
I'm
for
just
months?
asking if...
I do not. I did not know he was lead. I know he was one of the leads.
Okay.
I believe they do it in a tandem, but I'm not sure.
I
He
would
doesn't
say
even know how his own department works.
that's exactly it.
He don't even know. I don't know what guy's doing what. I don't know. This guy is a effing idiot.
I would
Wow.
definitely make that a spotlight. You mean to tell me you're in charge of 45 cops and you don't know who your detectives are,
And you don't
Your
know who the
lead
lead
detectives?
detective is.
especially in this
Bullshit.
case?
Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm calling 100% bullshit. He's the lieutenant. No. People, he's lying. He knew. He just, for some reason, he doesn't want to admit it. But he knew who was the lead. Everybody knows the lead because they do all the legwork. They do all the delegation of what's going to happen. They do the warrant, the search warrant. He's the case agent. He's in charge.
Sure.
Okay. He may have had a partner, correct?
That is correct, yes.
But it's not unusual to have a lead case agent, the person who's responsible for most of the search warrant writing and the
You always have a
memorialization
lead
of
case agent.
and documentation of evidence collection and the movement of evidence and booking into evidence, things like that.
That is correct, but I don't know anything about who wrote their affidavits or who
Why would
logged their
you, sir?
evidence in. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, you would.
You're also familiar with Yuri Buchanan, correct?
I know who he is.
You're also familiar with Lieutenant Tully.
I know, yes.
They're all Massachusetts State Police officers, correct?
Yes, they all are.
Did Michael Proctor interview you before April of 2024?
He did not.
Did Yuri Buchanan interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did
Did
not.
Lieutenant Tully interview you before April of 2024?
No, he did not.
Did anybody else from the
Nobody did.
Canton Police Department, your deputy chief or the chief, interview you formally about your conduct and responsibilities before April of 2024?
I don't understand that question.
Did
Nobody
anybody
interviewed.
at Canton PD, separating out Massachusetts State Police,
Correct.
did you sit down at Canton PD and provide an interview with anybody at Canton PD about your conduct at the scene?
What do you mean by conduct?
Oh,
What you
shit.
did.
Going to the scene, collecting evidence, securing evidence, transporting evidence, booking evidence, those kinds of things. Your conduct at the scene, sir.
Yeah,
job.
I briefed my superiors, yes.
Okay, other than briefing, was there a formal report written
No,
or a formal interview conducted of you?
no, absolutely not.
Okay. Tell us when you wrote your report about what happened at the scene, memorializing what
Yeah.
you did at the scene.
I
Let's
didn't.
hear this.
You didn't write a report?
About
Because
I'm
nothing happened.
I'm so
That's not on the
angry.
report. It does nothing.
I'm so angry. I'm not angry anymore. This is like watching Saturday Night Live. America, this is like a skit show for Gonzo and I.
Jackson says it. What did you do to memorialize what you did?
He's saying,
And he
what did
said
you do?
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, did you write a report? No. So did you tell? I briefed people. Okay. So you briefed two guys. He briefed the superior. So two people, his buddies. Okay. And what else did you do? Well, that's it.
And the state police is taking over. They would probably want to know what he did. Right?
Yep.
Especially in the
know-
report.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Cops know cops. But like my brother-in-law's in Henderson, right? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, man. I know Henderson guys. I know my brother-in-law. He knows Metro guys. Everybody integrates. You know what I mean?
We know NHP.
We know NHP. I roll with a bunch of NHP guys, Henderson guys, Boulder City guys. Yeah. So he would know he's
The
the
scene
lead.
that day at the scene?
Correct, about this
I
investigation.
only did the metadata report. I did not write a report at the scene.
You never, in fact, the fact is you never wrote any report about what happened at the scene, correct?
He doesn't do nothing.
Correct.
You didn't memorialize that in any formal way on Canton PD letterhead to describe what you did and how you did it at the scene.
No.
Wrong.
He's proud of it.
Wrong answer. He is proud of it because he don't give a shit,
Normally,
dude.
when
He's
you
retired.
report to a scene as a first responder, you would be expected to write a report about that, whatever that conduct is.
I'm not the supervisor, no.
Pause it, G.
What if you're the ranking person?
Look at the way he's acting. He doesn't even care if Karen Reed goes to prison for the rest of her life.
Yep.
He doesn't care. He will
Well,
not lose
yeah.
he won't lose a
doesn't have
minute
a dog
of
in the
sleep.
fight.
Yeah, he
You
won't
know?
lose a minute of sleep if she goes to prison. He'll be sitting on his fishing boat collecting his money. He could not have care in the world, man. That's such a shame. Go ahead.
I agree.
At a scene that ultimately turns into a homicide scene.
Well, we don't know it's a homicide scene at this time. We
He's
don't even
dead,
know there's a crime committed at this time. My
Understood.
responsibilities are to make sure reports are written, not to necessarily write the reports myself. I'm the supervisor. It's
Although-
my job to make sure reports are written.
Are you?
Evidence is logged, those types of things.
Under
Did you hear what he just said?
Oh
Make sure reports are written, except for mine.
Well, nobody did one really. And Sarah, the first responder, remember he did one. It was like 3 sentences, 4
paragraph.
sentences for a dead cop. Are you?
Yep.
Woo. Man, G.
Yeah, you're right. They don't care.
They really don't. That's a shame.
ordinary
Canton, they're doing you a
circumstances,
disservice.
Respond to a scene as a supervisor.
Sorry.
And you would oversee what other people are doing, what your
That's
subordinate-
correct.
Can I finish?
Sure.
I don't want to talk over each other.
I apologize.
You would want a supervisor oversee what your subordinate officers, whatever he or she might be doing or they might be doing, you're going to oversee that. But they're the ones actually conducting the investigation or picking up evidence or doing the interviews, writing those things of that nature.
Correct. Detective Sergeant Lake's investigation, yes.
So in that circumstance, you wouldn't be expected to write a report because all of that conduct is memorialized by others subordinate to the supervisor, correct?
Correct.
But in this case, quite the opposite happened. You were the one that was in the video utilizing the leaf blower, correct?
That's correct.
You were the one that actually exposed the drinking glass, correct?
Correct, yes.
You noted the drinking glass and actually called somebody else over to take a look at it, correct?
That's correct.
You directed someone, Sergeant Lang, to pick up the drinking glass and recover it as a potential piece of evidence, correct?
That is correct.
You noted the blood or the coagulation of blood in and around that area, correct?
That is correct.
You noted where you believe the drinking glass was, in other words, what location, if there were grid coordinates, where it would be, correct?
Correct.
And you instructed others to transport that important evidence back to Canton PD to have it booked, correct?
That is correct.
You also secured the plastic containers in which to recover the blood.
That is
right?
correct.
You also directed someone to get a bag to put the plastic containers in and ultimately transport it, correct?
That is correct.
So you would agree with me, Mr. Gallagher, that in this circumstance,
You suck.
did a lot.
you were the
You suck.
centerpiece of the recovery of evidence and the investigation as it was
He knows
at
it.
that time in that limited context. You were the centerpiece of what was happening at the scene, correct?
And I made sure it was documented by Detective Sergeant Lang.
But you didn't find it important
'Cause you're
enough
so
to write a report
friggin' lazy.
yourself.
I think
Can't do it
it's
yourself.
For misrepresentation. There's a person fighting for their life. It was very important.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
When you were there at the scene,
Not to
at-
you, sir.
what time
Not to
was
you.
it, by the way?
I got there shortly after 7.
Okay, you knew that that person who was fighting for his life had already been transported and was in good care,
Yeah.
as best care we can provide
Yeah.
at Good Samaritan Hospital, correct?
Nice
I'm gonna,
try.
I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna pause it there for a second.
Yeah. Nice try, though, sir. Nice try, though.
That scene is now static.
Yeah.
It's not dynamic. It's static.
Yep.
You can take your time,
Yep.
process it correctly,
You got all day. You got 15,
Take
20
notes.
hours.
right? They give you a notepad. You can get all you want. right?
I know, G. You know, unbelievable. I mean, Jackson literally just kicked him in the nuts, and he doesn't even know it. That's how stupid he is. Jackson just kicked him in the dick, and he don't even know it. He's like, yeah, well, good. He just made you
Listen,
look like an idiot. He just said you did 10 things completely wrong as the leader, and you should be accountable for that, sir. And he's like, nah. Nah, I made Lang do it. I made Lang do it. Well, Lang fucked it all up, dude. So now it falls back on you.
he's the officer in charge,
Yeah.
right?
He's
Right.
the OIC, man. When you're the officer in
So
charge, shit rolls
Things
downhill.
get lost. Things get lost in translation,
Yes, they do.
right?
Which is why
But
when you
they
have
don't
when
when you
you
write it
have a
down.
case like this, you really don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And you want to take your time.
Yep.
He was there for an hour, which is like way too long for a homicide scene. I can't believe he was there for a whole hour. Like,
That is
Yeah.
correct.
So certainly you're not excusing away the idea that you didn't memorialize your conduct because you were too busy fighting for someone's life. That's not what you're saying.
No, it definitely is not what I'm
Okay.
saying.
yeah, don't dare say that. Fighting for his life for what? We don't even have a crime yet.
Exactly.
But we have a
Obviously,
suspect, but no crime.
reporting to a scene and supervising a scene is one thing, but actually gathering evidence is a whole next level. You would agree with that?
Sure.
Because, just to put a fine point on it, responding to a scene as a supervisor, you want to make sure everybody's doing their duty, but the officer or officers who, for instance, uncover, let's say it's a knife or a gun or some weapon or something like that,
Yeah.
actually documenting and picking up that evidence and handling it up in an appropriate way, that is all highly, highly technical. It's very important to get it right and memorialize
Yep.
it all, correct?
That is correct.
That's why you're highly trained to memorialize and report everything that you do in that regard in a report that can later be used forensically, in other words, in a courtroom setting, to recreate as best you can with as much detail as you can exactly what you did and how you did it and where it was done, correct?
Sure, yes.
Perfect. But you didn't do that. He's like, right. But
I did do that.
Thank you. Yeah. That all sounds great, sir.
Officer
But I
Light
didn't
wrote a
do
report in
that.
this case. Did Officer Mullaney?
I believe he did, yes.
Did Officer Seraph?
Yes.
Officer Good? Sergeant
Yes.
Good?
Yes,
But you did not.
I did not.
Of course not. Well,
Who was the first officer to find any potential physical evidence at the scene, be it blood or glass?
I can't answer that. It was not me.
That was
I
you.
not the first thing that was spotted was the pink spotting, not the glass.
Okay. Who was the first person to see the glass?
I think it was myself as I uncovered it with the leaf blower.
he just said that.
One of the important things that we've talked about, Mr. Gallagher, is documenting the details of evidence recovery, not just the fact that something was recovered, correct?
That's correct.
So you'd want to know what time of day it was recovered, correct?
Sure.
You'd want to know who was there and who was around when it was recovered, correct?
Yes.
You'd want to know what the item is, the condition of the item, right?
Yes.
Where?
You'd also want to know exactly where it's recovered, correct?
That is very important.
Yes.
In other words, as best you can to pinpoint the exact location where an item was found. That could play a huge role in any
That is-
investigation, be it criminal or otherwise.
It could. It could.
Huge. But he didn't do it.
Did you diagram or draw a diagram back at Canton PD or
I did
out
not.
at the scene
No.
about where that glass was found?
No, I did no reports or diagrams.
Did you diagram exactly where you recovered the blood spots that you did recover?
No.
He goes, let me beat you the punch. I didn't do nothing.
You know what, man? We should call Canton and file a police report for fraud.
It wouldn't get filed. It wouldn't get written.
Gallagher. Yeah, I'll file it right now. Get on it quick.
Who was
I didn't even
that?
think
Oh,
of that.
wrong
You're
number.
right. They won't file it, dude.
It was a scammer.
He needs a police report for fraud. because he's been defrauding Canton for 32 years.
Here we go.
We're almost done, people. Like a couple more minutes. That's it. Hang in there.
Did you at least, if you did write a report, did you at least take notes on a pad about what you were doing?
Yeah, conditions weren't, it was pretty hard to take notes at that time, but I did not take notes, no.
Astronauts can take notes in space, sir. You can't take notes in snow. They have pens that write underwater. I've
At
seen
some
guys fighting a
point, you
shark
mentioned
and
a
writing
person by the name
a
of
memo at the same
Tom
time.
Kelleher, Deputy Chief Kelleher.
That's correct.
Who is Deputy Chief Kelleher?
He's the deputy chief of Canton Police.
He was active on active duty at the time.
Yeah, he's the
When I
deputy
say
chief.
active duty, I don't mean that morning, that hour. I mean just generally.
Yes. He was a lieutenant at that time.
He went up. He went up. See that? Two
He was
friends.
someone
both
to
go up.
whom, as a matter of fact, probably the only person to whom at Canton PD you actually reported, correct? Up the chain of command. He was the only person to whom you reported up the chain of command, meaning he was your direct report.
He was in charge of detectives at that time.
And
yes.
then, of course, the chief would be above him, correct?
Deputy chief and chief.
Okay. When you responded to the scene, Deputy Chief Kelleher did not come out of his house and take over the investigation, correct?
Correct.
That was yours to detail,
That is correct.
at least while you were there.
That's correct.
So can you describe what you did to preserve the crime scene? I'm sorry, to preserve the scene, because at that time you said you did not know if it was a crime scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
What did you do in
I mean,
terms of actually preserving the scene for later investigation? What steps did you take?
For later, can you explain later investigation?
So let me take a step back.
Sure.
Have you been trained to preserve scenes?
Yes.
Okay. What's the reason that you want to preserve a scene? What does that mean?
Collect evidence.
Collect evidence to make sure nothing is disturbed, correct?
Correct.
Civilians can't kind of traipse through, walk through evidence, correct?
That's correct.
You've heard the phrase forensically, evidence in, evidence out. Someone traipses through a crime scene, you bring
Correct.
evidence with you, and you take it back out, it's on your shoes or on your feet or your breath or your saliva, whatever it might be.
Very familiar with that, yes.
Preserving the scene is best efforts, is best practices to make sure that nothing is moved, touched, messed with in any way, correct?
That's correct, and that's what was done here.
What did you do? That's my question. What did you do to preserve that scene?
There was nobody, there were no civilians ever to trample through. Were rescue efforts made on Mr. O'Keefe? Yes, that's priority. So rescue workers do go into any type of scene.
Yep.
Medical life-saving measures come first. Once all apparatus was off scene, the original officers put out crime scene tape to mark an area. And later, it was documented, it was photographed, and evidence was collected.
And it was searched by you, at least initially with the leaf blower.
Correct.
Okay. So you were interested in the area that, by the way, I want to clear this up, make sure I'm not mistaken. You described for Mr. Brennan basically where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, correct?
Yes, yes,
You never saw his body in situ. You never saw his body in place.
that is correct.
You were told by Sergeant Lang generally where his body was, correct?
Yes, and Sergeant Lank actually never saw Mr. O'Keefe either.
That's my next question.
Okay,
Sergeant Lang-
and Mr. Good, and Sergeant Good as well.
Right. Sergeant Lang never saw John O'Keefe actually in place, correct?
That is correct.
So you're receiving information from Sergeant Lank that he did not have personal knowledge of, and then you're providing that information later to crime scene investigators who are trying to establish a diagram or some sort of a chart about where that evidence was, where the drinking glass was, where his body was, correct?
No, I never spoke to anybody in that manner about that.
Didn't you
Why would you?
originally go out to
You're only a
the scene
cop.
along with others at Massachusetts State Police when they had a drone overhead? You were-
No, you're mistaken. I can clarify it for you if you wish.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So on February 1st, after the execution of the warrant, they wanted to go down to the scene. It was Trooper Proctor and somebody from the cars team, I'm not sure of the name. Once they got down there, I did show them where I was shown John O'Keefe was. They did want to put up a drone, but they could not do it because they were too close to Norwood Airport and because of FAA regulations.
Okay.
And that was the last of my involvement with that.
So-
I hope that clarifies things for you.
Can't send it up 20, 30 feet?
I'm interested
Yeah,
in the first
exactly.
part, which was,
Your
you
cops,
accompanied
don't say shit.
Trooper Proctor.
50
to the
feet?
scene, Correct.
Correct.
There were other members of cars, CARS.
I think there was one, crash accident reconstruction section, I'm assuming.
Okay, so it's a forensic, a member of MSP who does forensic diagrams, correct?
I would say, I don't know if they do diagrams, I don't know what they do.
Or reconstruction of some sort.
Sure, reconstruction of some sort.
So you were there to help
Pause that,
provide
G.
information about.
He's not sure what they do.
I know. The airport would let us get up there if we needed to, if we had a dead officer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The airport would absolutely work with us. Did they even call them?
But we have 4 runways, so they can divert the airlines. They might only have a dirt field.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and be like, I don't think this guy even called anybody to see what's available. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think they just were like, all right. I mean, he was there for an hour, Gonzo, an hour.
Well,
that
he
is
just regurgitated a policy that no drones can be flown within the area of
Correct.
the
yeah. all right,
airport,
Okay.
right?
But,
But you can get permission.
you can absolutely get permission, and
Absolutely.
they 100% would for a deceased officer. They would be like, hell yeah, we'll give you as much time as you need, but keep it under 10 minutes because we have planes coming in.
We have
Get that shit up quick, get it out. What you would. You only needed it in
the
the
Wright
air for
brothers are
about
coming
what?
for a landing.
About a minute or two. Circle the house twice, and you're good. You know.
Exactly. That's real.
Yeah, we're almost done. Almost done,
And be
people.
a Canton police officer present in case any neighbors had come out.
So you were there to help provide information about, or at least you did provide information to them about where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found.
Oh, sure, yes.
Except you didn't see Mr. O'Keefe's body, did you?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
So that was a guess on your part.
Yeah.
It was what I was shown. It's the information I had.
Yeah.
The educated wish.
You were told by Sergeant Blank, correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
Who also didn't see John O'Keefe in place on the ground at 34 Ferry, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So his would be a guess also, correct?
Well, we're going backwards, so he was told by Sergeant Good and et cetera. So it was information passed along, which is what police officers do.
Right.
Yeah.
But
We do.
the police officer that was out there at the scene, who was helping the reconstructionist establish the formal report, and the CARS report was an officer who not only didn't see where John O'Keefe's body was,
That's
he
a
got
problem.
information about where John's body was from someone who didn't see it either.
That's a problem.
Correct? Can we at least agree on
No.
that?
That's a problem.
You have to go back to the beginning. I didn't understand the beginning of that question. It was
Sure.
very.
I'll
You're
try
an
again.
idiot.
The point is, Mr. Gallagher, you happen to be tapped as the person who is going to assist the CARS folks, the MSP, in creating their CARS,
No.
ultimately their CARS report.
No.
But who did?
Isn't it true that you accompanied Trooper Proctor and members of the CARS unit to document Fairview Road and the scene of the incident?
Yeah, I thought I explained it could not be done.
Okay.
So
I'm not
I
asking
wasn't,
you-
I only went to show them where Mr. O'Keefe was and.
Where you think he was.
In case any neighbors came out. I wasn't there to assist in any documentation at all.
Neighbors didn't come out on the night he died. Why would they come out for a cop standing there in the middle of the day?
I do.
Have you reviewed Brian Tully's report?
I have not. You showed me one section of it.
Isn't it true that what you actually told Brian Tully is that you went with Trooper Proctor, and you're already shaking your head now. I haven't even finished the question.
Yeah.
I got that part wrong? You accompanied Trooper Proctor?
No, what's wrong is I was interviewed by Lieutenant Tully. That was a meeting I had
Okay.
with Prosecutor Lally.
Okay.
Trooper Tully was present. Trooper Tully never asked me any question. I don't recall Trooper Tully ever asking me a question, sir.
So let me
Why
go
is he
to
in the
word
room?
fine. So in Trooper Tully's report, where he reports what you said, you were actually talking to Adam Lally my colleague sitting up in front.
Correct.
Okay, so now we've got that cleared up, let me ask you again. Did you say in front of Trooper Tully that you accompanied Trooper Proctor and members of the CARS unit to document Fairview Road?
Meaning they were documenting Fairview Road. It's not clear, the report's not clear. They were going to document.
Okay.
The report's not clear. Holy shit. I'm so fucking surprised right now. I'm in shock.
There was a report though, but it's not clear.
Hey, at least he finally did something. But you know what? I'm going to see this report, G. I don't believe it. I want to see it.
It's got 2 lines.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong one.
Fairview Road, not me.
So you just said something that I want to follow up on.
Okay,
The report's not clear, correct?
that's correct.
So that's an inaccurate report.
I wouldn't call it inaccurate at all. I'm just saying you're misinterpreting the wording.
I see. And I'm misinterpreting it even though I just read it directly from the report.
Pause that.
Yeah, sometimes sentences have different meaning.
No, man. It's right. You're just reading it wrong.
The words are messed up.
You're just reading it wrong.
You're interpreting it wrong, even though I read it.
That's like we're having a conversation. Hey, you want to go to Jack in the Box?
I'm
What's that?
confused
Diving
now.
board is how long? Like what? How do you misinterpret it? You read the words. They tell you what they mean. You understand it. We communicate.
That's what it means. Oh Lord.
Oh,
So
I'm
I
gonna
guess
have
the
to try
policy.
that at work. I'm gonna have to try that at work, like to the boss. Yeah, man, you're reading it wrong, bro. It doesn't say that. It says this.
Oh Lord. Here we go.
Yes, you are.
Okay. The reality is you did end up going to the scene, correct?
I did.
And you accompanied, I don't want to use a word that you'll challenge, you went with Trooper Proctor, correct?
I took my cruiser to 34
Okay.
Fairview, yes.
You were there at the same
big
time
boy.
Trooper Proctor was?
Yes,
And you were aware that the CARS team was there so that they could document the scene, correct?
I don't know what the purpose of the drone was. I'm not familiar with that section. I thought I answered that question. I'm not familiar with what they do.
But you do believe that as you sit here, you were there, we weren't. You do
Right.
believe that that's the reason that they were there was to document the scene.
Put up a drone.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean by document. I don't know if it was to
What does a drone
photograph.
do,
I guess,
man?
which if you mean by document, photograph, I guess it could, I would agree. If it means take measurements, I wouldn't know.
Okay. Did you tell any of the members of the CARS team where you believed John's body was?
I believe it was Trooper Proctor, but I believe he was there, yes.
Trooper Proctor obviously was not there when John's body was there either, correct?
That is correct,
So
yes.
he would have gotten that information.
From you. That is correct.
So now that's 3 people.
It's probably more, quite honestly, yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about
Yeah.
this report.
Correct.
The CARS report. That's 3 people in line. None of them saw John's body, John O'Keefe's body, as it lay in the lawn when he was recovered.
That is correct, yes.
And there's no photographs
Of,
of Mr. O'Keefe
oh, no.
at the location.
No, we wouldn't, nobody would photograph somebody undergoing life-saving measures. Wouldn't be appropriate.
There's no video specifically.
Body
We wouldn't take
camera.
video of somebody undergoing
there's
life-saving measurements.
There's no
either.
body cam.
We don't have body cameras.
There's no
Of
dash
course
cam
not. They
that
pay
shows
you
it.
too much damn money.
Well, dash cameras would be on the road. Mr. O'Keefe was approximately 8 to 10 feet off the road.
How
Well,
do you know?
hang on a second.
You weren't there.
You're not sure where Mr. O'Keefe was because you know.
Exactly.
That's why I used a range, yes.
Right. So you don't know-
I know where the blood was. I know where the glass was.
Right. You don't know if he was 7 to 9 feet off. if he
That's
was
correct.
4 to 12 feet off. You can't say.
I could, only approximately. You are correct, yes.
You did meet with Officer Seraph. You met with all the officers when you arrived at the scene, correct?
Yes,
And Officer Seraph had been there from the beginning of the morning.
yes.
Officer Seraph didn't report to you at that time any statements attributable to my client, did he?
He did not know.
You later went back to 34 Fairview with Sergeant Lank,
That's correct.
and you rode back. Did you ride back to Kenton PD with Sergeant Lank or separate cruisers?
Which time? I
I'm sorry.
apologize.
That's a vague question on my part. You went back to 34 Fairview with just Officer Lank, and you described the circumstance in which you went in, you were let in by Brian Albert, he went to the kitchen, you were in the family room or some other place.
Right by the kitchen, yeah.
Right by
the
the
room
kitchen.
off the kitchen, yes.
Okay, so right next to where he was interviewing
That's correct.
Jennifer McCabe.
Yes.
Did you ride back from that meeting with, or that event to Canton PD with Sergeant Lank?
Yes.
And Sergeant Lank didn't say anything to you about his interview with Jennifer McCabe at that time?
I don't recall our conversation on the way back.
Okay. And you didn't write a report about any conversation that you had with Officer Seraph? You didn't write a report about any conversation you had with Sergeant Lank?
No, they're responsible for writing their own reports.
Got it. You did say that,
Almost
Do
done.
you see how he looked down?
I know.
It's
I
like,
let me
oh,
back
shit.
up and ask you a different question. You testified about a year ago in another proceeding.
9 months ago.
You talked a little bit about the evidence collection of the biological material, the blood, or the, as you, I'm guessing at that time, presumed blood. You haven't done any testing.
That's correct, yes, sir.
But you assumed it was blood just because of your experience and it looked like it could be blood on the surface.
That's correct.
How far were you from Canton PD? Approximately. It's a drive,
Mile and a half.
mile and a half.
Wow, that's
you
close.
had a cruiser with you,
I had my personal vehicle with me.
your personal vehicle. In other words, your ambulance where you could get from point A to point B if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was the scene supervisor. I wasn't leaving the scene.
Okay. But you also had subordinate folks at the scene that you could have dispatched had you wanted to.
Correct.
They all had cruisers
Yes, they did.
or personal vehicles, I'm not sure which.
I'm sorry?
Or personal vehicles, I'm not sure which.
I was the only one with a personal vehicle. Detective Sergeant Lank had a Toyota Tundra pickup truck that is not marked, but it's assigned to our detective unit.
So if you wished to, as the ranking officer at the scene, you could have dispatched one or more of those officers to run an errand, to go do something in furtherance of the investigation, had you wanted to.
Yeah, I actually did that.
Okay, you
did
did.
you?
What did you
Yes.
do in that regard?
Remember, I sent Sergeant Good to get the leaf blower.
Got it. You also know that Canton PD has evidence collection bags at Canton PD.
Yes.
You also know that they have materials and tools to gather biological material, correct?
We do have swabs, yes.
And those swabs go in little containers to maintain their sanitary nature, correct?
That is correct,
In
yes.
other words, if you see a blood stain, you don't just walk up with a Kleenex that you find on the ground and wipe it up. There's a blood stain. There's a process for gathering that type of evidence, correct?
Sure, if
This
you're
sounds
looking
like
for
important.
DNA, you can use a bloody Kleenex, to your point.
It'd be kind of an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. My point exactly.
But if you're a mile from the Canton PD,
Yeah.
you could have gone back and gotten a swab,
Could
Bad
have.
scene.
but you didn't.
Didn't want
Got
to, because of the weather, because you just said, because it's an emergency, and we thought it was an emergency there. I mean, the storm was coming down terribly, and.
Why don't you cover the blood with the
We didn't
solo cup?
collect that biological
Protect
matter. We weren't going to get that biological matter.
But
Didn't think.
Canton PD was a mile and a half away, 4 or
In-
5 minutes.
In a blizzard,
In the snow, over it.
Still, in a blizzard, I flipped it 3 minutes. And
He's making every excuse
Yeah, he is.
to not
Yeah.
do it right.
Yeah, no, and you remember with the audit, they said since 2013 they did all the investigations, they did them proper. And
Yep.
this is one of the first one. Well, we won't even talk about Birchmore, but this one, yeah, first one where they really, literally screwed it up from beginning to end. And to
Yeah.
me, I'm sorry, it just looks like it's on purpose. There's just no other explanation because these are grown men. These guys have been cops 30 years. There's no way you could possibly be that dumb. There's no way.
I would
Unless
use
they
his words against him because he
Unless
said the
they just
blood
are.
was coagulated or frozen. It's
Yeah.
not going to go anywhere. You got
Well, you
time
gotta-
to go get the right
Yeah.
tools.
Well, and that's what Jackson was saying to him. Like, dude, this scene is static, man.
Yeah.
You have as many days as you want with this scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get the weather sucks. I get it. But you still have to protect the scene. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
you protect the victim and you protect the scene.
Yeah.
That's how it rolls.
Yeah, that's how you solve the crime, man.
Yeah.
In good weather, probably 4, 5, 6 minutes in a blizzard, correct?
I'm not sure.
So let's call it 12, 15 minutes. You certainly could have gone back. If you wanted
Yeah.
to, you could have dispatched one of your officers to go back
Very
and get
easily.
swabs and properly collect the blood material.
Sure,
Exactly.
sure. And I believed 15 minutes would have made a difference.
And what you did instead is,
Botched the whole case.
well,
Yep.
15 minutes would have made a difference, but you asked Sergeant Good to drive to his house and get a leaf blower.
Yes, and while he was doing that, we were documenting the scene with photographs.
Documenting?
You could have
Oh, there was
documented
no
the scene
photograph.
with photographs even if you went back and get a swab. What's the difference?
Because we were ongoing. It was ongoing. I wasn't leaving the scene.
I didn't ask you to leave the scene. I mean, I didn't ask if you were
I
leaving the scene.
needed the other officers. We talked
Whatever.
about scene security. I already
Whatever.
let one officer go. I now have 3 left. We're
It's
securing
6
that
o'clock on a
scene.
Sunday morning, or Saturday morning. There's nobody out.
Stains in
In a blizzard.
Correct?
That's correct.
And you said, Officer Good, probably called him Sean, Sarge, go home and get a leaf blower.
That is correct.
Could have said, Officer Mulaney, get your butt over to Canton PD and pick up 10 swabs, correct?
He wouldn't have had access to the swabs.
Oh, so now one of your officers could have gotten swabs, even if a lieutenant, a ranking lieutenant had dispatched him to go get a swab.
Because he doesn't have access to the BCI, the Office of BCI, where our stuff is kept.
Could you have made a phone
Why not?
call?
No, nobody there would have had access at that time. It was only Officer Dever on the desk.
So you're the only person that could have gotten those swabs?
Sergeant Lane could have gotten them as well.
So Sergeant Lang could have too,
Sure.
but you didn't say that.
No, definitely didn't.
Okay. What you did do, however, is you
Unbelievable.
went to the neighbor's house. That would be Tom Keller, correct?
The lieutenant of detectives, yes.
Right. And Lieutenant Keller gave you red Solo cups.
Yes. I asked for plastic or glass containers. He had Solo cups, and I utilized them.
The same kind of Solo cups that we all see at backyard barbecues.
Yep, they hold liquid terrifically.
They're also not sealed, correct?
Dude.
They are not.
They're also not used normally.
Yeah.
They were here. They're not normally used for evidence collection, correct?
Oh, absolutely not.
And then you decided you needed to transport that very important biological material back to Canton PD for storage and safekeeping, correct?
That's correct.
And why was it important to transport that blood material so quickly? What are the factors that you considered, weighed and balanced, in terms of getting that material back to Canton PD in good condition, sanitary condition?
So a criminalist could extract a proper DNA sample.
What would happen, for instance, if that blood material, I don't know, were contaminated?
Contaminated how?
You tell me. You're the professional.
So DNA is
Oh
pretty
my gosh.
hardy, pretty forensically stable. The only things that are going to harm it are radiation, ultraviolet light, harsh chemicals such as bleach. That's not present here. I wasn't. Then you would have 2 sets of DNA.
Why did he say bleach? Why did he say that? Slip of the tongue?
Dude.
Right?
This,
Listen.
This is worse than last year. Because you can tell he don't even give a crap, man. You know what I mean?
Man, I hope Jackson says this. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is who was protecting you on the streets.
Yeah.
Right? Man.
I mean,
oh,
this
man.
is a total embarrassment, man. Total embarrassment.
Listen, remember he said that there was no need to protect the crime scene because there's nobody around,
Right.
right? Now
That's
he's saying
exactly what he said.
it's gotta be protected. I have to stay here to protect the scene.
Yep. Did you catch that, America?
He's contradicting himself a lot.
Yep. He is. He
A
is.
lot of holes.
Yep.
That's wrong. Was it about over, B?
It. I keep saying it is, but at this point, I don't really know anymore.
Looks like we got another.
It's gotta be
20,
almost
30
over. I
minutes.
thought it was
Which would
90
benefit
minutes.
you.
Well, depends on whose DNA it is.
That's correct.
2 hours.
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Mike, you're right.
Yes.
Gotta be over soon. Stick with us, people. Trust me. It's gotta be over soon. He's got nothing left to say.
While you were, I'm going to stay on this for a second. So obviously, there's a reason why blood swabs or biological swabs are handled with such care. For instance, a DNA analyst is going to put on gloves.
Correct.
Oftentimes, they're going to put on a
Yep.
mask. Right?
I don't know about that.
Oftentimes, they put on goggles. Is that right?
It depends what they're testing.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when you go out and collect something, you'll see CSI, crime scene investigators, in full body suits when they
Sure.
walk into a crime scene.
Yeah, you can.
Because you don't want to contaminate the scene
Yeah.
with your own hair off your arm or an eyelash falling into a blood stain.
Correct.
Correct?
That is correct.
Right. So there are protocols. I mean, you said just a second ago, Mr. Gallagher, well, it's DNA, unless somebody pours bleach in it, you're pretty much golden, right? That's
Hey,
not quite the fact, is it?
And that's not quite what I said.
No, it's not quite.
It's exactly what you said.
You're suggesting that it's hardy enough that it doesn't really matter.
No, no.
If it's contaminated or not. If there's multiple people's DNA, it just benefits everybody.
No, I simply asked what you meant by contamination.
Okay. So it could be contaminated with debris, is that right?
Sure, it can.
It could be contaminated with other people's DNA, is that right?
It can.
It could be contaminated with foreign items, foreign either aerosols or
Anything.
Somebody's spittle when they're talking, correct?
Yes.
Sure.
It could be
No.
contaminated with 1,000 things.
Hypothetically.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Of course, these
That's what he
solo cups
steals.
didn't have lids on them, right?
They
No.
did not.
They were open.
Yes.
You didn't photograph where you picked up the samples.
No.
You didn't document where you picked up the samples.
No.
So if the samples were in how many solo cups were there?
6.
6 solo cups. We don't know as we sit here where each of those solo cups contents came from specifically. do we?
Exactly.
Specifically, no.
Okay. Then those solo cups with no lids were placed into a bag, right?
That's correct.
You said on direct examination that this was a brown paper bag, right?
It is. Stop and Shop, I believe.
And you said that that Stop and Shop bag is, other than having the words Stop and Shop on it versus evidence on it,
Yeah.
The same.
basically the one and the same thing.
Same dimensions, made out of the same materials, yes.
Right. But with an evidence bag, we know exactly where it came from and who's handling it.
Not necessarily.
Comes from the manufacturer
Sure.
whose job it is to secure those bags so that they are not mishandled, so they can have some sort of bona fides that they're clean and ready to accept evidence.
Sterile.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't know, the investigation of a homicide of a police officer. Important stuff, right?
We're not at a homicide of a police officer at this point.
I'm just talking about evidence bags in general. Evidence bags in general. In other words, I'm trying to think about some of the most important investigations around. The manufacturers of those evidence bags manufacture them and send them in a way so that their bona fides, the provenance of those bags is maintained, correct, and protected.
That's the way they ship them, yes.
Right. And Kenton PD pays extra money for those bags
Yeah.
for that very purpose.
I'm sure they do, yes.
You mentioned almost tongue in cheek, look, except for the price,
Yeah.
they're probably pretty close.
Yes.
There's a reason that there's a price difference, right?
What would the reason, what's the reason?
Well, it's not the shop, I can go pay 10 cents
Yeah.
for that bag, because I don't really give a hoot where it's been, or who's handling it. Right? It's got my milk and my eggs in it, really don't care.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know how they price it, because of how they package it. I don't have any knowledge of
Well,
that.
you're the one that mentioned the price. I'm just
Oh,
trying
no,
to
no,
make a
no.
point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I'm sorry.
He probably orders them.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallagher, you gotta wait for me.
Yep.
There's a reason. My point is, there's a reason, right?
Yes.
That evidence bags are more expensive because there is a way they're manufactured and they're taken care of, and Canton PD is willing to pay that extra price, like every other law enforcement agency, because of that. Correct? All right. So they're not quite the same, are they?
No.
Dude, he is in such I don't give a F mode. He can
Those
look right at Karen and be like,
Solo cups were
"Yep,
placed in the
I didn't give
evidence
shit."
bag,
Yep.
uncovered.
and he don't care.
Yes.
The evidence bag was then placed in Sergeant Lank's vehicle.
It was closed and Sergeant Lang transported it to his vehicle, yes.
When you say closed, you mean the top of it was rolled up?
Correct.
Yeah.
Or folded over?
The bag.
Okay.
So it's sealed.
Was it forensically sealed?
Not at that time, no.
There was no evidence tape that went on it.
Not at that time, no.
Matter of fact, the cups were still open and could slosh around.
Uh,
Yeah.
Assume they
Yes.
melted.
Yes,
There's liquid blood and liquid water,
Yep.
like
that's correct.
snow.
That's
Yep.
correct.
Already, yep. Contaminated, yep.
And you indicated that those were, at least you believe, those were placed in an evidence locker, temporary evidence locker, correct?
No, the blood samples were put in a refrigerated unit.
My mistake. I thought the refrigerator was the temporary storage locker. Is that correct?
Yes, lockers are not refrigerated. That's where the glass would go into a locker.
Okay. This was placed into an evidence refrigerator.
That's correct.
That was to maintain the integrity of the sample, the biological sample inside the cups, correct?
That's correct.
You have an evidence log of that.
I don't know.
Of course not.
You've never seen an evidence log indicating
No.
that those were actually put into a refrigerated evidence locker.
I removed them myself, so I know they were in the refrigerator unit
When did you remove them?
on February 1st.
Right.
Was it logged?
January 29th. They were taken to Canton PD by Officer Lang, Sergeant Lang, on January 29th. I'm just asking, well, let me ask a foundational question.
Yeah.
Does Canton PD maintain something called evidence logs?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not the evidence officer.
No.
There is, it's all computerized.
Right.
So like I explained earlier, when they do get logged in, the officer puts the description of the property, hits the space bar, and the computer generates an evidence number.
Right. And that evidence number is associated with just that piece of evidence?
Just that piece of evidence, correct?
Okay, Brian, when we go to court and we have to pick up evidence, what do we do at the evidence vault?
We have to sign it out.
That's an evidence log,
You gotta
Right.
sign that. It ain't giving you nothing until you sign it.
right? That's all he's asking.
Let
Who
me tell you
has the
something.
chain of custody of this log?
Yeah. In Vegas, we take our evidence collecting so serious that multiple times, right? And G has probably done this. Once I say it, he'll probably say, yeah, I did it too. He already knows what I'm going to say.
Mistakes.
Yeah,
Mistakes.
I get a call. I'm out on the street, right? I'm running and gunning, and then I get a call from the evidence vault. Hey, Officer Benitsky, yeah, you didn't sign your sheet. You got to come here now and sign it. And
Now,
when they say you come here now, everything stops and you go to the evidence. Well, you call your sergeant. Hey, I got to go to the evidence vault. He already knows. Okay, cool. See you when you get back. And you drive down there for one signature and you're out. But that's how important it is.
one thing you forgot is the sergeant say, see me in the office when you get back.
Yeah, you idiot. That's happened to me a few times in my 22 years. You know, it happens. You forget, you're busy, but you got to go down there and sign it, man.
But that's another thing, Brian. That's so important that when you're doing evidence,
Yeah,
you as an officer, I won't let anybody else touch it.
yeah. No, you have to do it yourself.
You have to do it yourself because that way you control it.
Well, how about when you mess up and you get those nasty grams?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember with Captain Dixon? I think, what did he say? He goes, Brian, you're number one at Enterprise. And I was like,
Yes.
at briefing. And he goes, you're number one at most mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He goes, Brian, you're not allowed to collect evidence ever again. And I was like,
Yep.
sweet. Because I hate
Yep.
collecting evidence.
And every time it's checked out or put
If
back
you miss an
in,
I or
there's
don't
a
cross a
log
T,
created,
that's a
correct?
mistake.
Yeah, they do it by computer, yes.
It's a digital fingerprint.
Correct.
All right. I mean, you're a former narco specialist, right? You did narcotics for years, right?
I did.
Drugs, about the most sensitive thing out there, right? I mean,
Did you learn about drugs?
bottle of fentanyl. You're not just going to go set it on
course.
the evidence subject's desk. You're going to make sure that damn thing gets logged exactly how it's supposed to, correct?
Yeah.
Of course.
Because it needs to have a trace of where it goes and who touches it and who has access to it, correct?
That is correct.
You've never seen an evidence log for these items that were taken from 34 Fairview and supposedly put into the, well, not supposedly because you took them out, and
That's correct.
ultimately went into a refrigerated evidence locker.
Yeah, I wouldn't have access to the evidence log. Our evidence room is a very strict process. There's only 2 people that can even have access to the permanent, once it goes into permanent evidence. And it's the admin sergeant that changes the custody when it comes out for court, if an item has to come out for court, or it has to be transported to another agency, or if an officer needs it removed from evidence for further inspection. The admin sergeant would take care of that.
That's the way it's.
Ms. Fitzjackson, you're not going to finish today, right?
No, I'm
In
not.
2 minutes?
Two questions, and I'm also.
All right, 2 questions.
Imagine being the admin sergeant for the evidence.
Correct.
Yes.
Talk about a crappy job.
As you sit here.
Remember, there's only 18 pieces of evidence a year.
Determining where that blood went and who was handling it between January 29th and February 1st.
I have never seen an evidence log.
That's all I had, Robert, at least at this time.
All right, Lieutenant, we're gonna have you back tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Gallagher.
Thank you.
So jury session
Thank you, Gallagher.
today. The
That was
same
awesome.
3-4 cautions.
Wow.
Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent.
Let me pause
research
it.
or investigation.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So what did we learn? Not a lot
They don't do reports.
for
They
anything.
can get their own POVs whenever they want,
Drive around
and they don't document anything.
and they don't document anything. That's horrifying.
It's tough to
Horrifying.
see this kind of guy have this responsibility or had this responsibility
Yeah.
for 45 cops, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Sorry
said
if I got worked up. I apologize. You know, I get when I watch cops, especially like this guy, it angers me because it's not right, and it pisses me off. So
He's a 2-week employer or
What?
employee. He's just looking forward to every 2 weeks to get paid.
yeah,
you
he's
know?
there for
everything
a
in
check.
between is nothing, not
Yeah,
important to him.
The badge meant literally nothing to him other than a paycheck, and now he's got a good
Pension.
life, retirement, and a
Yep.
pension. Yeah, that's why he did it. He's one of those guys. Never been in a fight. Probably never even went to a call. Probably never did nothing. So
Yeah.
okay.
I want to
whatever.
say thanks to the people in chat. You guys are rocking and rolling.
Yeah, and we
That's
know this is
awesome.
late. We're late too. I mean, you know, but we're in Vegas. A lot of you guys are back east, but and we weren't really planning on it. G and I were conversing today, and he was like, "Hey, you want to do a live tonight? Yeah, let's do a live tonight. We dropped Gallagher, the old one, so let's drop the new one so you guys can see how he changes. And you'll see if you watch the old one and you watch this one, you're gonna see how he's way more chill.
Yeah.
He's way more chill. So
Yeah, because he doesn't have a job now.
yeah. So thanks for sticking with us. Free
Yeah.
Karen Reed. Support all the YouTube creators. Just do what you can. Karen's got to get free, so everybody keeps going until Karen's free. Because people like this, like this guy, are you kidding me? We can't beat this guy? No, fuck that. No, we're beating them, people. You understand me? Fuck, this is ridiculous. Anyway.
Every time I see a jury, I wonder what the jury thinks when they see a witness like this.
I don't know how they're not like me going, what?
They
They would
think
never
that's
pick me
Texas.
they would never pick me for a juror because I'm way too animated, man. I can't I can't control myself. So,
Send us out, B.
all right, man. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Thank you for your support, unwavering support. We really do appreciate it. Our videos
Hey, we
are
crossed
reaching
17,000 subscribers. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you so much. The word is slowly spreading. I mean, we're just trying to educate people, and I'm hitting everybody back in the comments. And a lot of people are saying they're learning a lot from us on the law enforcement side from this trial, which is great because that's what we're here to do, right? We're cops. Do we speak lawyers? No. You gotta go Melanie Little and all that stuff for lawyers. We're just street cops. But we want to educate you and help you understand how we think and how we act and work sometimes, and how the public perceives us at certain times.
Yeah.
So,
Police policies and procedures.
yeah. So, hey, thanks for riding along with us tonight. We know it was a long night for me too. And gee, we're working all day. So, what are you cheating over there? You got an energy drink?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't even eat dinner yet. I got to go home. All right. Thanks for watching,
And for those still serving, have a safe tour duty, please.
and make a difference in someone's life. Stay classy, Las Vegas.
Always. Deuces.
Peace.
1 Sam 5 and 1 Sam 6, copy of 425 call.
Copy. 1 Sam 5 en route.
1 Sam 6, copy, en route.